Atomic Habits by James Clear is a practical guide to building good habits and breaking bad ones. It emphasizes the power of small actions or atomic habits in achieving remarkable results over time. Clear explores the science behind habit formation and offers actionable strategies for creating lasting change, focusing on cues, cravings, responses, and rewards. He highlights the importance of environment, mindset, and identity in shaping habits and provides practical techniques for making positive behaviors automatic. Overall, the book provides a comprehensive framework for transforming habits and mastering personal growth. My story. On the last day of my sophomore year in high school, I suffered a traumatic injury when a baseball bat struck me in the face. A classmate swung the bat, lost his grip, and it flew out of his hands, hitting me squarely between the eyes. The impact knocked me out, leaving me with no memory of the incident. The force of the blow was so severe that it crushed my nose into a U shape and caused multiple skull fractures, including 2 shattered eye sockets. The trauma was so intense that it caused my brain to slam against my skull, triggering immediate swelling throughout my head. And when I regained consciousness, I was surrounded by concerned classmates and teachers. I noticed blood on my clothes and used a classmate's offered shirt to stem the bleeding from my nose. Despite the help around me, I didn't realize the severity of my injuries. My teacher assisted me as we walked to the nurse's office, a journey made slowly and carefully, not realizing how critical every minute was. Upon arrival, the nurse asked basic questions, which I answered incorrectly, clear signs of my disorientation and confusion. Soon after, my condition worsened, and I lost consciousness. The local hospital quickly determined they couldn't manage my critical condition, prompting an emergency transfer to a larger hospital in Cincinnati via helicopter. My mother accompanied me while my father returned home to care for my siblings and share the distressing news. Upon reaching the hospital, I was admitted to the trauma unit where my condition necessitated a medically induced coma following multiple seizures. This hospital was familiar to my parents, who had spent years here when my sister battled leukemia. While I was in a coma, my parents received support from hospital staff, including a priest who had helped them decades before. They endured a harrowing night filled with worry and uncertainty. My recovery. Miraculously, by the next morning, my condition stabilized enough for doctors to bring me out of the coma. However, my recovery revealed new challenges. I had lost my sense of smell, which briefly returned in an unusual incident that caused my left eye to bulge out due to air passing through a fracture in my skull. Surgery was scheduled after a week to address the various fractures. Recovery was a long and painful process, marked by double vision and severe mobility issues. It took months before my eye returned to normal and nearly a year before I could drive again. Physical therapy sessions focused on basic movements like walking straight. The road to returning to baseball, my lifelong passion, was tough. A year after my injury, I tried out for the team, but was cut, a devastating blow. Despite this setback, I persisted and eventually made the varsity team in my senior year, though playing time was minimal. College at Denison University marked a fresh start and the beginning of understanding the power of small, consistent habits. This new perspective would eventually help me overcome the challenges and setbacks from my injury. Discovering the power of habits. Choosing to attend Denison University turned out to be one of the pivotal decisions in my life. I earned a place on the baseball team, and despite starting out at the end of the bench as a freshman, I was elated. Coming from a tumultuous high school experience, becoming a college athlete was a significant achievement for me. Knowing that a starting position on the team wasn't immediately in my future, I turned my attention towards organizing my life. While many of my peers were indulging in late nights and video games, I dedicated myself to cultivating good sleep habits, ensuring I went to bed early. I also maintained a clean and orderly room amidst the disarray typical of college dorms. These small changes, though seemingly minor, helped me regain a sense of control and gradually rebuilt my confidence. This newfound self-assurance spilled over into my academics, where improved study habits led me to secure straight A's throughout my freshman year. Habits are routines or behaviors that we perform regularly, often without much thought. Over time, as I progressed through my college years, I developed small but consistent habits that led to achievements I had never imagined at the outset. For instance, I began lifting weights several times a week, transforming my 6 foot 4 inch physique from 170 pounds to a more robust 200 pounds. By my sophomore year, these habits helped me secure a starting position on the pitching staff. By junior year, I was elected team captain, and by season's end, I had made the all-conference team. It wasn't until my senior year, however, that the true impact of my sleep, study, and strength training habits became fully apparent. 6 years after an incident where I was struck in the face with a baseball bat, resulting in a coma, I was honored as Denison University's top male athlete and named to the ESPN Academic All-America team, an accolade awarded to only 33 players nationwide. By graduation, I found my name in the school record books across 8 different categories and received the university's highest academic award, the President's Medal. While it may sound a bit self-congratulatory, my athletic career was far from legendary or historic. I never played professionally. Nevertheless, reflecting on that period, I believe I achieved something equally significant. I reached my full potential. This book is based on the belief that the concepts I discuss can similarly help you reach yours. Life is full of challenges. My injury was a stark example of mine. It taught me a crucial lesson. Even seemingly insignificant changes can lead to extraordinary outcomes if you persist with them over time. We all face setbacks, but ultimately the quality of our lives is largely determined by the quality of our habits. Stick with the old habits and you'll get the same outcomes. Adopt better habits and the possibilities are limitless. There might be individuals who attain remarkable success overnight, but I haven't met them, nor am I one of them. My journey from a medically induced coma to academic All-American didn't hinge on a single breakthrough moment. It was a gradual evolution, a chain of small victories and subtle realizations. The only strategy that worked for me, starting small, later became a guiding principle when I began my own business and embarked on writing this book. The genesis of this book. In November 2012, I embarked on a journey as a public author by launching my articles on jamesclear.com. For many years, I had maintained personal notes on my experiments with habits, and I decided it was time to share these insights with the world. I committed to publishing new content every Monday and Thursday. This routine quickly bore fruit as I garnered my first 1,000 email subscribers within months, and by the end of 2013, that figure had swelled to over 30,000. By 2014, my newsletter had attracted over 100,000 subscribers, ranking it among the fastest-growing newsletters online. Initially feeling like an imposter, I had now started to be recognized as an expert in habits. This new identity was both thrilling and somewhat daunting, as I had always seen myself not as an expert, but as a fellow learner exploring alongside my audience. In 2015, my subscriber list doubled to 200,000, and I inked a deal with Penguin Random House to write the book you are currently reading. My growing platform not only expanded my business prospects, but also led to invitations to speak on habit formation, behavior change, and continuous improvement at leading corporations across the US and Europe, delivering keynotes at major conferences. By 2016, my work was regularly featured in top-tier publications like Time, Entrepreneur, and Forbes, reaching over 8 million readers that year. Prominent coaches in the NFL, NBA, and MLB were not only reading my articles, but also sharing them with their teams. In early 2017, I launched the Habits Academy, now the leading training platform for those eager to cultivate better habits in both personal and professional realms. Fortune 500 companies and burgeoning startups alike enrolled their leaders and teams. To date, over 10,000 leaders, managers, coaches, and educators have completed the program, enriching my understanding of practical habit implementation in diverse environments. As I finalized this book in 2018, my website, jamesclear.com, was attracting millions of visitors each month, and nearly 500,000 people were subscribed to my weekly newsletter. These numbers far exceeded anything I could have imagined when I started, leaving me both grateful and amazed at the journey thus far. How you will benefit from this book. Naval Ravikant, a prominent entrepreneur and investor, once remarked, To write a great book, you must first become the book. The principles discussed in this book are ones I've come to understand through personal experience. Whether rebounding from an injury, gaining strength in the gym, excelling in sports, becoming a writer, establishing a business, or simply maturing as an individual, small habits have been pivotal in helping me reach my potential. I assume that since you've chosen this book, you're looking to achieve your potential too. In the chapters ahead, I will outline a lifelong strategy for fostering better habits. This book is supported by scientific evidence, but is crafted not as an academic paper, but as a practical manual. You'll encounter a mix of wisdom and actionable advice, all designed to simplify and demystify the science of habit formation and change. The insights in this book draw from various disciplines, including biology, neuroscience, philosophy, and psychology, fields rich with centuries of knowledge. Here, I synthesize timeless wisdom and the latest scientific insights into a guide that's both practical and transformative. Credit the wise insights to the experts who've shaped this knowledge. Any oversights are my own. Central to this book is my 4-step model of habit formation: cue, craving, response, and reward, and the 4 laws of behavior change derived from these steps. Those familiar with psychology may recognize elements of operant conditioning, a concept dating back to B.F. Skinner in the 1930s and more recently popularized as cue, routine, reward by Charles Duhigg in his book, The Power of Habit. Skinner's model effectively illustrated how external stimuli can shape behavior, but it fell short in explaining how our inner states, our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs also play a crucial role. Over the past few decades, research has begun to illuminate how these internal states connect to our actions, a theme also explored in this book. The framework I present integrates cognitive and behavioral science, offering a holistic model of human behavior that considers both external influences and internal emotions. While some terminology may be familiar, the insights and applications of the 4 laws of behavior change provide fresh perspectives on habit management. Human behavior is fluid, varying by situation and changing from moment to moment. However, this book focuses on what remains constant: the fundamental principles of human behavior. These are the principles you can depend on consistently, whether you're building a business, a family, or shaping your personal life. While there's no single correct way to develop better habits, the approach I share here is competent and adaptable to any starting point or goal, be it related to health, finances, productivity, relationships, or other areas. As long as human behavior is a factor, this book will serve as your roadmap. The Man Who Didn't Seem Quite Right. Once, the psychologist Gary Klein relayed to me an intriguing story about a woman with years of experience as a paramedic who attended a family gathering. Upon seeing her father-in-law, she immediately sensed something was amiss. "I don't like the way you look," she told him. Feeling perfectly healthy, her father-in-law quipped, "Well, I'm not too fond of your looks either." But she was serious. "You need to go to the hospital now," she insisted. Later that day, he was in surgery for a critical arterial blockage, a condition that placed him on the brink of a heart attack. Her sharp intuition, honed from years in emergency medical services, undoubtedly saved his life. What exactly did the paramedic notice? How could she foresee such a dire medical emergency? When significant arteries are blocked, the body instinctively prioritizes blood flow to essential organs over less critical areas, like the skin. This alters facial blood circulation patterns. From her extensive experience, the woman had developed an intuitive skill to identify these subtle cues, even if she couldn't articulate precisely what those cues were. This phenomenon isn't limited to medical professionals. It extends across various fields. Military analysts, for instance, can differentiate enemy missiles from friendly aircraft on radar screens under identical conditions. During the Gulf War, Lieutenant Commander Michael Riley made a life-saving decision based on such an intuition, successfully identifying and destroying an incoming missile that appeared identical to friendly planes. Similarly, museum curators can distinguish between genuine artworks and sophisticated forgeries, not always knowing exactly what details alerted them. Experienced radiologists can predict potential stroke sites on brain scans before clear symptoms are visible. I've even heard about hairdressers who can tell if a client is pregnant just from the texture of her hair. The human brain is essentially a prediction machine, continuously processing environmental inputs and making rapid, often subconscious assessments. Through repetitive exposure, whether it's a paramedic, frequently seeing patients with heart issues, or a military analyst observing missile trajectories, the brain learns to recognize critical patterns and cues. They're storing this knowledge for future reference. This capability allows us to react to situations automatically, with our brains encoding lessons from past experiences without our conscious awareness. We often take for granted the incredible range of activities our bodies manage autonomously: hair growth, heartbeat, breathing, digestion. Take hunger, for example. You don't need to see food to know you need to eat. Your body uses non-conscious signals to trigger hunger. This understanding highlights a crucial aspect of human behavior. Habits can form and operate below the threshold of conscious awareness, making them both incredibly useful and potentially risky. Without realizing, we might fall into habitual patterns of behavior, such as covering our mouth when laughing or apologizing before speaking. A retail clerk once habitually cut a customer's credit card in half, mistaking it for the subtle power of small habits. It's common to overvalue a single defining event and undervalue the impact of small daily enhancements. We often fall into the trap of thinking that to achieve great things like losing weight, building a business, or writing a book requires drastic actions that get everyone's attention. However, improving just 1% each day might not seem significant or even noticeable, but its effects are profoundly meaningful over time. Consider this: improving by 1% daily means being 37 times better in just 1 year. Conversely, decreasing by 1% daily leads to almost zero by year's end. Small gains or slight setbacks can accumulate significantly. Habits act as the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money grows through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They might seem minor day to day, but over months and years, their cumulative impact can be staggering. Only upon reflection after several years do the benefits of good habits and the costs of bad ones become remarkably clear. We often dismiss minor changes because they don't seem impactful at the moment. Saving a bit of money today doesn't make you a millionaire tomorrow, and exercising for a few days doesn't immediately reshape your body. Small changes don't show quick results, tempting us to revert to our old ways. Additionally, it's easy to overlook a bad habit because its immediate consequences are minimal. An unhealthy meal today won't show on the scale tomorrow. Ignoring family for work might be forgiven. Procrastination on a project can seem harmless. These small errors, repeated, lead to significant negative outcomes. Imagine changing an airplane's course by just a few degrees. A slight shift from Los Angeles might end you up in Washington, D.C. instead of New York City. Similarly, small daily habit adjustments can dramatically alter your life's trajectory. A choice that seems trivial today can, over a lifetime, determine the vast difference between who you are and who you could become. Success stems from daily habits, not sporadic, monumental efforts. Your current state, successful or not, is less important than the direction your habits are taking you. Being wealthy yet spending more than you earn sets a poor course, while saving a bit each month, even from a position of financial struggle, sets you towards freedom. Your outcomes are merely reflections of your habits. Your wealth reflects your financial habits. Your health reflects your eating habits. Your knowledge reflects your learning habits. What you consistently do shapes your future. Projecting your future can be as simple as examining the small gains or losses each day and understanding their compound effects over the years. Daily decisions like spending wisely, exercising regularly, and learning continually are what will define you. Time amplifies the effects of your habits, working for or against you. Good habits leverage time to your benefit, while bad habits turn time into your foe. Understanding and shaping your habits is critical. They can either serve as tools for success or traps of failure. Recognizing how to manage your habits is essential for steering clear of the detrimental impacts they can have. The idea that your habits can compound for you or against you underscores the significant long-term impact that small, repeated actions can have on your life. Like financial compounding, where small amounts of interest accumulate into substantial gains or losses over time, habits can similarly build upon themselves to yield powerful outcomes. This concept can be understood through several key points. The true nature of progress. Picture this: an ice cube is perched on a table in a chilly room where you can see your breath. It's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Gradually, the temperature starts to rise. 26 degrees, 27, 28. The ice cube remains unchanged. 29 degrees, 30, 31. Still, there's no visible difference. Then at 32 degrees, the ice begins to melt. A minor increase of just 1 degree, seemingly indistinguishable from the previous increments, triggers a significant transformation. Such breakthroughs are often the culmination of numerous preceding efforts that accumulate the necessary potential for a major change. This principle is evident in various scenarios. Cancer remains undetectable for 80% of its life cycle before rapidly overtaking the body, and bamboo spends 5 years building an extensive root system underground only to shoot up 90 feet in a mere 6 weeks. Habits, too, might seem inconsequential until a critical threshold is crossed, unveiling a new level of performance. In the initial and intermediate stages, you may find yourself in what I refer to as the valley of disappointment. You expect linear progress, yet the lack of visible impact during the early stages can be disheartening. It doesn't feel like you are making headway. This is a hallmark of compounding processes. The most impactful outcomes are often delayed. This delayed gratification is precisely why developing lasting habits is so challenging. People make minor adjustments, see no immediate results, and give up. You might think, I've been running every day for a month. Why can't I see any change in my body? This mindset makes it easy to abandon good habits. However, to really make a difference, it's crucial that habits are maintained long enough to surpass what I call the plateau of latent potential. If you're struggling to cultivate a beneficial habit or to break a harmful one, it's not a reflection of your capacity for improvement. Rather, it's likely you haven't yet passed the plateau of latent potential. Complaining about lack of success despite your hard work is akin to lamenting that the ice cube didn't melt when heated from 25 to 31 degrees. Your effort hasn't been wasted, it's been accumulating. All the significant changes occur at 32 degrees. When you do advance beyond the plateau of latent potential, others may perceive it as an overnight success. The external observer only sees the dramatic change, not the preceding buildup. But you know it's the groundwork laid earlier, when progress seemed elusive, that enabled today's leap. This phenomenon mirrors geological pressures, where tectonic plates may grind against each other for millennia, building tension until one day a similar motion releases a massive earthquake. Change can be slow to arrive, yet when it does, it happens swiftly. Achieving mastery demands patience. The San Antonio Spurs, one of the most successful NBA teams, are inspired by a quote from social reformer Jacob Riis in their locker room. When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. Every significant achievement starts with small steps. The genesis of each habit is a single, modest decision. With repetition, this decision evolves into a robust habit, establishing deep roots and branching out. Breaking a bad habit is akin to uprooting a mighty oak, while building a good habit is like nurturing a delicate flower day by day. Ultimately, the ability to endure the plateau of latent potential and break through to the other side hinges on our commitment to stick with a habit long enough to reap the compounding benefits and avoid slipping into detrimental patterns. Shift your focus from goals to systems. It's commonly believed that the key to achieving our desires, whether it's getting in shape, building a thriving business, reducing stress, or spending more time with loved ones, is to set specific, actionable goals. I used to think this way too. I had goals for everything: the grades I wanted, the weights I hoped to lift, the profits I aimed to earn. Sometimes I succeeded, but often I didn't. Over time, I realized that my success had less to do with the goals I set and more with the systems I put in place. What exactly is the difference between systems and goals? This was a distinction I first understood from Scott Adams, creator of the Dilbert comic strip. Goals focus on the outcomes we wish to achieve, whereas systems are the processes that lead us there. For example, a coach might aim to win a championship, but the system involves recruiting tactics, managing assistants, and running effective practices. An entrepreneur might target building $1 million company, but the system would encompass methods for testing product ideas, hiring the right people, and executing marketing strategies. A musician might aim to master a new piece, but their system would involve regular practice, tackling challenging parts step by step, and obtaining feedback from teachers. Now consider this. What if you ignored your goals and concentrated solely on your system? Would you still see success? For instance, if a basketball coach focuses only on enhancing daily practices instead of winning a championship, would the team still perform well? I believe it would. Focusing solely on a game's score won't win the game. Improvement each day will. As Bill Walsh, a 3-time Super Bowl champion coach, said, "The score takes care of itself." This principle applies across various aspects of life. If you're after better outcomes, then ignore setting goals and instead refine your system. Does this mean goals are useless? Not at all. Goals are useful for establishing a direction, but systems are what enable us to make continuous progress. Here are some pitfalls of being overly focused on goals. Problem number 1, goals don't distinguish between winners and losers. Both successful and unsuccessful individuals often share the same goals, illustrating the survivorship bias in goal setting. We focus on the winners and attribute their success to ambitious goals, ignoring those who didn't succeed despite similar ambitions. Problem number 2, achieving a goal only brings temporary change. If you clean a messy room, it stays clean only temporarily unless you change the habits that led to the mess in the first place. Solving issues at the system level rather than the result level brings lasting improvement. Problem 3, goals can limit your happiness. Assuming happiness is tied to reaching goals can delay satisfaction until those goals are achieved, which might never happen as expected. Embracing a systems-first approach means you find joy in the process, not just the outcome. Problem number 4, goals may undermine long-term progress. A goal-oriented approach can result in a yo-yo effect, where motivation vanishes after achieving the goal. Systems encourage ongoing engagement and continual improvement. Ultimately, while setting goals is about winning the game, building systems is about continuing to play the game. Adopting a mindset focused on continuous refinement and improvement is more sustainable and rewarding in the long run. A framework of atomic habits. If you find it difficult to change your habits, the issue isn't with you, it's with your system. Repeated failures in habit change aren't a reflection of your desire to improve, but rather a sign of having an ineffective change system. Your performance doesn't peak at your highest goals, but settles at the level of your systems. This book emphasizes focusing on your overarching system rather than isolated goals. This concept taps into the deeper essence of the term atomic. You might have gathered by now that an atomic habit involves a minor adjustment, a slight improvement, about 1%. However, atomic habits aren't just small habits, they are crucial components of a broader system. Much like atoms, which are the essential units of molecules, atomic habits form the foundation for significant outcomes. Habits act as the atoms of our existence. Each habit is a core element that promotes overall advancement. Initially, these small routines may seem trivial, but they soon accumulate, catalyzing larger victories that exponentially surpass the initial efforts invested. These habits are both minor and powerful. The term atomic habits refers to a consistent practice or routine that is small and manageable, yet remarkably potent, serving as an integral part of a system that fosters exponential growth. The interplay of habits and identity. Why do bad habits persist so easily, yet forming good ones seems so challenging? Few things can have as profound an impact on your life as refining your daily habits. Yet, despite your best intentions, you might find yourself stuck in the same routines next year as well. Maintaining good habits consistently often feels like an uphill battle, only sustainable for a few days despite genuine efforts and sporadic motivation. Habits such as exercising, meditating, journaling, and cooking might start strong but quickly turn into burdens. Conversely, once habits take root, they seem to become permanent fixtures, particularly the undesirable ones. Despite our best efforts, habits like eating unhealthy foods, excessive TV watching, procrastination, and smoking can seem unbreakable. Why is changing habits so tough? The challenge lies in two key areas. One, targeting the wrong aspect of our behavior for change. And two, approaching change in an ineffective manner. This chapter will cover the former, with subsequent chapters delving into the latter. Our primary error is often trying to change the wrong aspect of our behavior. To clarify, consider the three layers of change, akin to an onion structure. 1. Outcomes. This outer layer involves changing your results, losing weight, publishing a book, winning a title. Most goals are tied to this layer. 2. Processes. The middle layer focuses on altering your habits and routines, starting a new workout program, organizing your workspace, or forming a meditation habit. This is where most habit formation efforts concentrate. 3. Identity. The core layer involves shifting your beliefs, your view of the world, your self-concept, and your judgments about yourself and others. This layer underpins most of your beliefs, assumptions, and biases. Outcomes concern what you achieve, processes concern what you do, and identity concerns what you believe. When building lasting habits and aiming for incremental improvements, the issue isn't that one layer is superior to the others. Rather, the challenge is the direction of change. Many people initiate habit changes by focusing on desired outcomes, leading to outcome-based habits. Alternatively, identity-based habits begin by considering who we want to become. Consider two individuals offered a cigarette. The first declines by saying, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," still identifying as a smoker, while the second says, "No thanks, I am not a smoker," indicating a shift in identity. Often people overlook the importance of identity shifts when setting improvement goals. They think in terms of outcomes and processes without reassessing the underlying beliefs that drive their actions, which can sabotage new goals. Behind every system of actions lies a system of beliefs, whether discussing individuals, organizations, or societies. Incongruent behavior with one's self-concept won't endure. You might desire more wealth or better health, but if your identity aligns with consumption over creation or comfort over achievement, those desires won't translate into lasting habits. An example from Brian Clark, an entrepreneur, illustrates this. Clark had a lifelong habit of nail biting, which he only managed to break after recognizing the pride he could take in well-maintained nails, triggered by his first manicure. This pride in a new aspect of his identity made all the difference. True behavioral change is fundamentally an identity change. Motivation might kickstart a habit, but identity integration keeps it going. The more you identify with an aspect of yourself, the more driven you are to maintain and nurture it. Habit formation reflects broader truths about our self-perception. Actions aligned with your self-concept feel natural, while those that aren't feel forced. This is why believing in an identity aspect, such as being a voter or a runner, makes related actions more effortless. However, identity can also be a double-edged sword. While it can empower positive change, it can also solidify negative traits, making change challenging. Many adhere to identities that limit their growth, resisting actions that conflict with their self-image. Ultimately, identity transformation requires continuous unlearning and updating of beliefs. Understanding how your beliefs shape your actions and redefining aspects of your identity to align with your aspirations is crucial for true, lasting change. This raises critical questions about the origins of our beliefs and identities, and how we can mold them to foster instead of hinder our growth. A two-step guide to transforming your identity. Identity is sculpted by your habits. No one is born with a fixed set of beliefs. Rather, all beliefs, including self-perceptions, are acquired and shaped through experiences. Your habits are tangible expressions of your identity. Making your bed daily casts you as an organized person. Writing daily frames you as creative, and regular training highlights your athleticism. Repeated behaviors strengthen the identity they reflect. The term identity itself stems from the Latin words essentitas, being, and identidem, repeatedly, signifying your repeated beingness. Your current identity is sustained by evidence. Attending church regularly for 20 years, studying biology nightly, or braving snow to hit the gym all serve as proofs reinforcing beliefs about who you are. With more evidence, these beliefs solidify. For much of my early life, I didn't see myself as a writer. Early on, I was merely average by academic standards. Yet, by consistently publishing articles twice a week, my identity evolved alongside the mounting evidence of my writing. Habits are pivotal in shaping identity due to their frequency. A single act doesn't typically redefine self-image. Repeated actions do, reinforcing self-perceptions over time and shaping who you become. Change is gradual and incremental, achieved through daily habits. Every action is a vote for who you aspire to be. These cumulative actions construct a new identity, proving that small, consistent changes are transformative. Thus, habits are the pathway to identity change. Every written page, music practice, workout, or supportive gesture not only yields results but also reinforces your belief in your capabilities. Each bad habit, conversely, votes against your desired identity. Yet perfection isn't necessary, just a majority of positive votes. Stagnant voting results in unchanged identities. To evolve, you need new evidence based on new actions. The process is straightforward. 1. Define the person you aspire to be. Consider what principles and values you want to embody and determine the outcomes you desire. 2. Prove it through small victories. Work backward from desired results to the qualities needed to achieve them. For instance, becoming a reliable person is crucial to writing a book. This approach enables belief in potential new identities, such as, I am the teacher who advocates for students. I am the empathetic doctor each patient deserves. I am the manager who supports their team. Start small, questioning daily decisions through the lens of your desired identity, like a friend who consistently chose healthier options and transformed her health. This concept introduces a recurring theme in our discussions, the feedback loop between habits and identity. Your identity informs your habits, and your habits, in turn, shape your identity. This interplay should be guided by who you wish to become, not merely the outcomes you seek. Why habits are crucial to your identity. At the heart of habit transformation lies the pivotal role of identity change. Throughout this book, you'll find detailed guidance on how to cultivate better habits for yourself, your family, your team, and beyond. Yet, the core question remains, are you evolving into the person you aspire to be? The initial step isn't about what or how, but who. Knowing who you want to become is essential. Without this direction, your efforts to change are akin to a ship sailing without a rudder. That's why this is our starting point. You hold the capability to alter your self-perceptions. Your identity isn't fixed. You face choices at every turn. Each moment presents an opportunity to endorse the identity you seek through the habits you adopt today. This leads us to the underlying aim of this book and the true essence of why habits are significant. Enhancing your habits is not merely about incorporating quick fixes into your daily routine. It goes beyond simple actions like flossing one tooth nightly, taking daily cold showers, or wearing the same clothes. Nor is it solely about achieving outward signs of success, such as earning more money, losing weight, or managing stress. While habits can aid in achieving these outcomes, at their core, they are not about acquisition, but about transformation. Ultimately, the importance of habits lies in their power to shape who you become. They forge the deepest beliefs you hold about yourself. In essence, your habits define you. How to establish effective habits. A 4-step guide, inspired by early psychological research. In 1898, psychologist Edward Thorndike embarked on a series of experiments that would significantly advance our comprehension of habit formation and behavioral guidance. Thorndike's interest lay in observing animal behavior, starting his studies with cats as his subjects. He placed each cat in a specially designed puzzle box that allowed escape through simple mechanisms such as pulling a loop of cord, pressing a lever, or stepping on a platform. For instance, in one version of the puzzle box, A lever needed to be pressed to swing open a door, through which the cat could then sprint towards a waiting bowl of food. Initially, the cats strive to escape by randomly exploring their confines, nudging into corners, reaching through gaps, and tugging at objects within the box. In due course, a cat might accidentally press the lever, causing the door to open and allowing it an escape route. Thorndike meticulously recorded the cat's activities across numerous trials. Initially, their movements appeared random, but the moment a lever press successfully led to escape, learning commenced. Over time, the cat started to connect pressing the lever with the reward of freedom and food. After 20 to 30 trials, this sequence of actions became automatic and habitual, enabling cats to escape in just seconds. For example, Thorndike observed one cat's progression in escape times, noting a significant reduction from 160 seconds in early attempts to as little as 6 seconds in later trials. As the trials progressed, the cats refined their approach, making fewer mistakes and achieving quicker escapes without redundant actions. From his observations, Thorndike formulated a principle of learning. Actions that result in satisfying outcomes are likely to be repeated, while those that yield unpleasant results are avoided. His pioneering research not only sheds light on the mechanisms of habit formation, but also sets the stage for exploring how similar principles apply to human habits. This understanding prompts essential questions about the nature of habits and their purpose in brain function and behavior. Why your brain develops habits. A habit forms when a behavior is repeated enough times to become automatic. The journey of habit formation starts with trial and error. When faced with a new scenario, your brain must decide on a course of action. Initially, like Thorndike's cat experimenting in its environment, you try various approaches to solve a problem. During this exploratory phase, your brain is highly active, assessing the situation and making deliberate choices. You're absorbing a wealth of new information and determining the best approach. Sometimes you might find a solution unexpectedly. Perhaps you're feeling stressed and discover that a run soothes you, or after a taxing day, playing video games helps you unwind. You're constantly exploring until suddenly, a reward hits. Once you experience this reward, your strategy for future encounters begins to change. Your brain starts to note what actions led to the rewarding feeling. This realization triggers a feedback loop essential to all human behavior. Try, fail, learn, and try again. With repeated practice, ineffective actions diminish and effective ones strengthen. This process is how a habit forms. When you repeatedly face a similar problem, your brain automates the solution. As behavioral scientist Jason Freha states, habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. As habits take hold, brain activity in those areas diminishes. You learn to recognize cues signaling success and ignore irrelevant data. When a similar situation arises, your brain skips the trial and error, applying the rule, if this, then that. This rule becomes a cognitive script that executes automatically when appropriate. Now, feelings of stress instinctively make you want to run. Arriving home from work immediately prompts you to reach for the video game controller. What once required conscious effort has become an automatic response, a habit. Habits are essentially mental shortcuts derived from past experiences, acting as memories of how you previously resolved an issue. When conditions align, these memories enable you to automatically apply the same solutions. Remembering past solutions helps the brain predict and manage future challenges efficiently. Habit formation is crucial because the conscious mind can only focus on one issue at a time, making it a bottleneck. Therefore, the brain continually tries to free up conscious attention for critical tasks by delegating routine tasks to the subconscious. This delegation reduces cognitive load and frees up mental resources for other important activities. Despite their efficiency, some question the benefits of habits, worrying they might dull life by imposing too much routine. This concern is a false dichotomy. Rather than restricting freedom, well-established habits enhance it. Without solid habits, daily decisions can become burdens, leaving less room for freedom. Good habits in areas like finance, health, and learning remove the constant need for decision-making about mundane tasks, thus freeing up time and mental energy for creativity and new pursuits. In essence, well-formed habits prepare you to tackle new challenges and opportunities, allowing for greater freedom and creativity in the future. Understanding the mechanics of habit formation. The development of a habit involves 4 clear steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. Exploring these fundamental components helps us grasp the essence of habits, their operational mechanics, and ways to enhance them. This 4-step sequence forms the core structure underlying every habit, with the brain executing these steps in the same sequence each time. Initially, there is the cue, which activates the brain to start a behavior. This cue is a piece of information suggesting the potential for a reward. Historically, our ancestors focused on cues that indicated vital resources like food, water, and mates. Nowadays, our cues are often linked to secondary rewards, such as money, fame, social status, approval, relationships, or personal fulfillment. These modern pursuits still ultimately tie back to enhancing our survival and reproductive success. Our brains constantly scan both internal and external environments for indicators of potential rewards. The presence of a cue signals the proximity to a reward, naturally leading to a craving. Cravings represent the second step and are the driving force of all habits. Without some form of desire or motivation, without a craving for change, there is no impulse to act. The object of a craving is not the habit itself, but rather the transformation in state it brings about. For instance, the goal isn't to smoke a cigarette, but to feel relief, not to brush teeth, but to enjoy a clean mouth, and not to watch TV, but to be entertained. Each craving stems from a desire to alter our internal condition, a critical concept we'll delve deeper into later. Cravings vary widely among individuals. While a particular cue might intensely motivate one person, it may go unnoticed by another. The interpretation of cues through personal thoughts, feelings, and emotions turns them into meaningful cravings. The third step is the response, the actual habit carried out, which could be a thought or an action. Whether the response occurs depends on the level of motivation and the effort required for the behavior. Additionally, the feasibility of performing the habit plays a role. For example, you can't dunk a basketball if you're unable to jump high enough. Finally, the reward follows the response. Rewards are the ultimate aim of every habit. They fulfill 2 key roles: satisfying the initial craving and teaching us which actions are beneficial to remember. Initially, rewards like food, promotions, or physical fitness provide tangible benefits. More immediately, however, they satisfy our cravings, offering temporary contentment and alleviation of the craving. Moreover, rewards play an educational role by teaching us which actions are valuable through sensations of pleasure or disappointment. This feedback helps the brain differentiate between useful and non-useful actions, thereby completing the habit loop. If any of the 4 stages is lacking, the behavior will not solidify into a habit. Without the cue, there's no start. Without sufficient craving, there's no motivation to act. Without an achievable response, the action is too daunting. And without a satisfying reward, there's no incentive to repeat the behavior. All 4 stages are essential for a behavior to not only occur, but also be sustained over time. In summary, a cue initiates a craving, leading to a response that results in a reward. This reward satisfies the craving and becomes linked with the original cue, creating a continuous neurological feedback loop: cue, craving, response, reward. This sequence, known as the habit loop, enables the formation of automatic behaviors. This 4-step cycle operates continuously, not just sporadically, active at every waking moment. The brain persistently monitors its surroundings, anticipates outcomes, tests responses, and learns from the outcomes, all within seconds. This process recurs so swiftly and frequently that we're usually unaware of its complexity. These steps can be divided into 2 phases: the problem phase and the solution phase. The problem phase, consisting of the cue and the craving, is when you recognize a need for change. The solution phase, comprising the response and the reward, is when you act to effectuate that change. Essentially, all behaviors aim to address a problem, whether it's attaining something desirable or alleviating discomfort. Each habit is crafted to solve these challenges. The table on the next page illustrates several real-life examples of this process. Consider the simple act of entering a dark room and turning on the light. This habit has become so ingrained that it unfolds automatically, the entire cycle executing in mere moments. The impulse to act is nearly instinctive. By adulthood, many such habitual actions go unnoticed. Few of us reflect on daily routines like tying the same shoe first each morning, unplugging the toaster after use, or slipping into comfy clothes after work. Years of mental conditioning have ingrained these habits so deeply that they occur without conscious thought. The 4 laws of behavior change. In upcoming chapters, we'll repeatedly observe how the 4 stages, cue, craving, response, and reward, profoundly impact our daily actions. Before we explore these stages in depth, let's frame them into a usable blueprint for fostering beneficial habits and discarding detrimental ones. This blueprint is what I call the 4 laws of behavior change. It offers a straightforward set of guidelines for developing positive habits and breaking negative ones. Consider each law as a lever that, when correctly positioned, can facilitate effortless habit formation. Conversely, improper settings on these levers can make habit change seem unattainable. While it would be overreaching to claim that these laws comprehensively address every facet of human behavior change, they come remarkably close. As we will explore, the 4 laws of behavior change are applicable across various disciplines, from sports to politics, arts to medicine, comedy to management. These principles are versatile, eliminating the need for distinct strategies for each habit challenge. When you're ready to modify your behavior, simply pose these questions to yourself. 1. How can I make it obvious? 2. How can I make it attractive? 3. How can I make it easy? 4. How can I make it satisfying? If you've ever pondered why there's a gap between your intentions and actions, such as why you haven't lost weight, quit smoking, saved for retirement, or launched that side business, the answers likely lie within these 4 laws. Understanding and manipulating these laws is crucial for habit creation and cessation. Goals that conflict with human nature are inherently set up for failure. Habits are molded by the systems surrounding us. As we delve into these laws individually in the following chapters, we will guide you on how to construct a system where positive habits flourish spontaneously and negative habits fade. The man who didn't seem quite right. Once, the psychologist Gary Klein relayed to me an intriguing story about a woman with years of experience as a paramedic who attended a family gathering. Upon seeing her father-in-law, she immediately sensed something was amiss. "I don't like the way you look," she told him. Feeling perfectly healthy, her father-in-law quipped, "Well, I'm not too fond of your looks either." But she was serious. "You need to go to the hospital now," she insisted. Later that day, he was in surgery for a critical arterial blockage, a condition that placed him on the brink of a heart attack. Her sharp intuition, honed from years in emergency medical services, undoubtedly saved his life. What exactly did the paramedic notice? How could she foresee such a dire medical emergency? When significant arteries are blocked, the body instinctively prioritizes blood flow to essential organs over less critical areas, like the skin. This alters facial blood circulation patterns. From her extensive experience, the woman had developed an intuitive skill to identify these subtle cues, even if she couldn't articulate precisely what those cues were. This phenomenon isn't limited to medical professionals. It extends across various fields. Military analysts, for instance, can differentiate enemy missiles from friendly aircraft on radar screens under identical conditions. During the Gulf War, Lieutenant Commander Michael Riley made a life-saving decision based on such an intuition, successfully identifying and destroying an incoming missile that appeared identical to friendly planes. Similarly, museum curators can distinguish between genuine artworks and sophisticated forgeries, not always knowing exactly what details alerted them. Experienced radiologists can predict potential stroke sites on brain scans before clear symptoms are visible. I've even heard about hairdressers who can tell if a client is pregnant just from the texture of her hair. The human brain is essentially a prediction machine, continuously processing environmental inputs and making rapid, often subconscious assessments. Through repetitive exposure, whether it's a paramedic, frequently seeing patients with heart issues, or a military analyst observing missile trajectories, the brain learns to recognize critical patterns and cues. They're storing this knowledge for future reference. This capability allows us to react to situations automatically, with our brains encoding lessons from past experiences without our conscious awareness. We often take for granted the incredible range of activities our bodies manage autonomously: hair growth, heartbeat, breathing, digestion. Take hunger, for example. You don't need to see food to know you need to eat. Your body uses non-conscious signals to trigger hunger. This understanding highlights a crucial aspect of human behavior. Habits can form and operate below the threshold of conscious awareness, making them both incredibly useful and potentially risky. Without realizing, we might fall into habitual patterns of behavior, such as covering our mouth when laughing or apologizing before speaking. A retail clerk once habitually cut a customer's credit card in half, mistaking it for a used gift card. A former preschool teacher found herself asking adult coworkers if they'd washed their hands after using the restroom. A previous lifeguard would occasionally shout "walk" at running children, all out of ingrained habit. Because these cues often blend into our daily routines, becoming almost invisible, the first step in changing our behavior must be to gain awareness of our existing habits. As Carl Jung famously stated, "Until you make the habits scorecard." Japan's railway system is internationally celebrated for its precision and reliability. Observers in Tokyo might be intrigued by the unique behavior of its train conductors. As they operate the train, conductors engage in a methodical practice of pointing at various instruments and audibly confirming their status. For instance, they might point at a signal and announce, "Signal is green," or verify the train's speed as they enter a station. Similarly, platform staff ensure safety by signaling "all clear" before a train departs. This practice, called pointing and calling, significantly enhances safety by reducing errors and accidents, a strategy so effective that it inspired a modified adaptation in New York City's subway system. Pointing and calling works by transforming routine operations from unconscious actions to conscious acknowledgments. This method requires using multiple senses simultaneously, which dramatically lowers the risk of oversight. In a personal context, my wife uses a similar tactic. Before we leave for a trip, she verbally checks off essential items like keys, wallet, and glasses, and humorously, her husband. This practice ensures nothing important is forgotten, highlighting how easily habitual actions can become so automatic that they escape our attention, leading to potential mistakes. This underscores a common problem in habit formation: losing awareness of our actions. The impact of our habits can often sneak up on us if we're not careful. To combat this, implementing a personal point-and-call system can be invaluable. This inspired the creation of the Habits Scorecard, a simple tool designed to increase self-awareness of daily routines. To use it, one would list their daily activities and then categorize each as a good, bad, or neutral habit based on its long-term benefits or detriments. Here's an example of how to start a Habits Scorecard. Wake up, turn off alarm, equals. Check my phone, go to the bathroom, equals. Weigh myself, plus. Take a shower, brush my teeth, floss my teeth, plus. Put on deodorant, hang up towel to dry, equals. Get dressed, make a cup of tea, and so forth. When evaluating habits, consider whether they help you become the person you aspire to be. Effective habits solve problems and align with your identity, while ineffective ones do the opposite. Initially, the goal of the Habit Scorecard isn't to change your behavior, but to simply observe it without judgment. This step is about acknowledging what you actually do, akin to noting another person's actions. For example, if you habitually eat a chocolate bar each morning, just note that fact without self-criticism. The awareness this fosters can be the first step toward change. For additional support, try applying the pointing and calling technique to your personal habits. For example, if you're trying to eat less junk food, verbally acknowledge the implications of reaching for an unnecessary snack. This makes the consequences more tangible and helps prevent mindless habits from taking control. Ultimately, whether it's remembering a simple errand or adjusting a major life habit, recognizing and acknowledging your actions through strategies like pointing and calling and the Habits Scorecard can lead to meaningful behavior change by enhancing your awareness of your own habits. The best way to establish a new habit. In 2001, British researchers began a study with 248 participants to cultivate better exercise routines over a 2-week period. The participants were split into 3 groups. The first group, serving as the control, was asked only to record their exercise frequency. The second group, dubbed the motivation group, tracked their workouts and read materials outlining the health benefits of exercise. Researchers further explained to them how regular physical activity could decrease the risk of coronary heart disease and enhance cardiac health. The third group received the same information as the second group, ensuring they were equally motivated. However, this group also made specific plans regarding the timing and location of their exercise for the coming week. They completed the statement, "During the next week, I will engage in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day at time in place." Results showed that while only 35 to 38% of participants in the first 2 groups exercised at least once per week, a significant 91% of the third group did so, more than doubling the average rate. This type of plan is known as an implementation intention, a predetermined strategy detailing when and where one will act. This method uses common triggers for habits, time and location, to increase the likelihood of acting. The formula for setting an implementation intention is simple. When situation X arises, I will perform response Y. Research across hundreds of studies has validated the effectiveness of implementation intentions in helping people stick to their goals, from scheduling medical appointments to committing to regular recycling. In instances like voting, where researchers have participants plan out details like their travel route to the polling station and time of departure, voter turnout notably increases. Similarly, government programs that prompt citizens to plan tax payments or arrange for late traffic fine settlements have seen success. The underlying message is clear. When individuals plan out the specifics of when and where they will perform a new habit, they are far more likely to follow through. Too often, people attempt to change their habits without planning the details. Statements like "I'm going to eat healthier" or "I'm going to write more" remain vague and lack the specificity needed for action. An implementation intention, however, transforms these ambiguous desires into actionable plans. Clarity, rather than motivation, is often what is missing. Knowing precisely when and where to act removes the paralysis of choice and the need for motivation at the moment. To employ this strategy effectively, one might use the template, "I will behavior at time in location." Examples: meditation. I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen. Studying. I will study Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. in my bedroom. Exercise. I will exercise for 1 hour at 5 p.m. at my local gym. Relationship nurturing. I will make my partner a cup of tea at 8 a.m. in the kitchen. Starting a habit on the first day of the week, month, or year can be particularly effective, as these moments inspire a sense of new beginnings and motivation. Beyond helping you stick to your habits, being specific also helps you decline distractions that could derail your progress. Clear, planned actions allow you to prioritize and avoid wasting time on non-essential tasks. By establishing a time and place for your habits, you set yourself up to naturally develop these behaviors through repetition, much like Pavlov's dogs who learn to associate a bell with food. Implementation intentions are not just about forming habits, they're about transforming intention into automatic behavior. Habit stacking, a straightforward strategy for revamping your habits. The story of the French philosopher Denis Diderot, who spent much of his life in poverty, is a striking one. His financial fortunes changed dramatically in 1765 when he was unable to afford his daughter's wedding. Known as the co-founder and a prolific contributor to the Encyclopédie, one of the most significant encyclopedias of the time, Diderot caught the attention of Catherine the Great. The Empress of Russia, an admirer of his work and an avid bibliophile, purchased his library for £1,000, a sum equivalent to over $150,000 today. This windfall not only allowed him to pay for his daughter's wedding, but also to indulge in a luxurious scarlet robe. The robe, however, soon appeared out of place among his modest belongings. Diderot wrote about the lack of harmony and beauty between his elegant new robe and his other possessions. This discrepancy led him to replace his old items with more luxurious ones, including a Damascus rug and a leather chair. This sequence of upgrades, where one new item led to another, illustrates what is now known as the Diderot effect. Acquiring a new possession often triggers further consumption. This phenomenon is visible in many aspects of life. Buying a new dress might lead to purchasing matching shoes and earrings, or a new couch might prompt a complete living room redesign. This chain reaction of purchasing isn't limited to objects, it extends to behaviors as well. The end of one action frequently sets the stage for the next, creating a linked sequence of activities. Understanding this behavior linkage is crucial when forming new habits. One effective method is habit stacking, a concept developed by B.J. Fogg as part of his Tiny Habits program. This strategy involves adding a new habit to an already established one, using the existing habit as a trigger for the new behavior. The formula for habit stacking is simple. After current habit, I will new habit. Examples include, after pouring morning coffee, meditate for 1 minute. After removing work shoes, immediately change into workout attire. After sitting down for dinner, express gratitude for one positive event of the day. After getting into bed, kiss your partner goodnight. After lacing up running shoes, text a friend or family member your running route and expected duration. These small additions can be built into larger routines, leveraging the natural momentum of connected behaviors. For instance, morning routine. After morning coffee, meditate for 1 minute. After meditation, write a to-do list. After writing, start the first task on that list. Evening routine. Evening routine. After dinner, place dishes in the dishwasher. After stowing dishes, clean the counter. After cleaning, prepare the coffee mug for the next morning. For new behaviors to take root, they must be tied to highly specific and actionable cues. For example, instead of the vague do push-ups during lunch, specify do 10 push-ups next to my desk when I close my laptop for lunch. This clarity reduces ambiguity and increases the likelihood of the behavior becoming habitual. To find the right trigger for your new habit, create a list of your daily activities and pair these with potential new habits. Habit stacking not only makes new behaviors more noticeable, but also provides a clear plan for implementation, crucial for turning actions into habitual patterns. By understanding and using the principles of habit stacking, you can effectively integrate new behaviors into your life, harnessing the power of your existing habits. Motivation isn't everything. Setting plays a crucial role. Dr. Anne Thorndike, a primary care physician at Massachusetts General Hospital, had an innovative notion. She was confident she could transform the dietary habits of thousands of hospital staff and patrons, not by boosting their determination or drive, but by not attempting to influence their motivation at all. In fact, she planned to make these changes without directly interacting with them. Thorndike and her team embarked on a 6-month research project aimed at reshaping the choice architecture of the hospital's cafeteria. Their first step was to rearrange the drink displays. Originally, the fridges by the cash registers only stocked soda. The researchers introduced water in these fridges and added baskets filled with bottled water near the food stations, while keeping soda in its usual spots. This meant water was now as accessible as soda everywhere in the cafeteria. 3 months later, soda sales had decreased by 11.4%, whereas bottled water sales rose by 25.8%. A similar strategy applied to food selections yielded comparable outcomes, without a single verbal prompt needed. This experiment highlights how our choices are often less about the products themselves and more about their placement. If I enter a kitchen and spot cookies on the counter, I might end up eating several without even being hungry. Similarly, a table loaded with donuts at work makes it challenging to resist grabbing one occasionally. Essentially, our surroundings and the cues they provide heavily influence our behaviors. The environment acts as an unseen force, molding our actions. Regardless of individual differences, people's behaviors tend to follow predictable patterns under specific environmental conditions. For example, in church, whispers dominate. On a dark street, caution prevails. This suggests that change is most often external, not internal. Our environments shape us. Kurt Lewin, a psychologist, introduced a formula in 1936 stating behavior equals a function of the person and their environment, B equals FPE. This principle was soon applied in the business world, most notably through Hawkins Stern's 1952 concept of suggestion impulse buying. indicating that product placement can spontaneously create consumer need. For instance, items placed at eye level are more likely to be bought than those lower down, and end caps on aisles, which see high traffic, significantly increase sales for featured products like Coca-Cola. Our decisions, from drinking Bud Light to frequenting Starbucks, are often driven by what's most visibly available rather than pure choice. Like other creatures, humans have evolved to respond to their environment through specialized senses. Vision, being our dominant sensory pathway, heavily influences our behavior due to its primacy in our neurobiological wiring. Fortunately, we are not merely passive recipients of environmental influences. We can also shape them. By strategically designing our surroundings, we can foster more productive behaviors and suppress undesirable ones. Designing your environment for success. In the 1970s, during an energy crisis and oil embargo, Dutch researchers focused on energy consumption patterns in a suburb near Amsterdam. They discovered a significant variance. Some homeowners were using 30% less energy than their neighbors, even though their homes were similarly sized and paid the same for electricity. The primary difference? The location of the electrical meters. Homes with meters in the main hallway rather than hidden in the basement showed reduced electricity use. The visibility and accessibility of these meters made residents more aware and encouraged energy-saving behaviors. This phenomenon illustrates a broader principle. Our behaviors are often triggered by our environment's cues. The more visible and accessible a cue, the more likely it is to influence our actions. For instance, if a guitar is stored out of sight, it's easier to neglect practicing. Similarly, books tucked away in a rarely visited room are less likely to be read. On the flip side, clear visual cues can promote positive habits. An inventive example comes from Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, where placing small stickers resembling flies at the center of urinals improved men's aim, significantly reducing spillage and cleaning costs by 8% annually. I've seen the effects of this principle in my own life. Apples stored out of sight in the refrigerator tended to be forgotten and spoil. By placing them in a central fruit bowl on the kitchen counter, they became a visible and convenient snack option, leading me to eat them more regularly. Here are strategies to make habit cues more prominent in your environment. Place your medication bottle next to your bathroom sink to remind you to take it nightly. Keep your guitar on a stand in your living room to encourage more frequent practice. Store stationery on your desk to make sending thank you notes more accessible. Distribute water bottles around your home to increase your daily water intake. To make a habit integral to your lifestyle, integrate its triggers into your environment extensively. Just as a smoker might find multiple prompts for smoking, you can create numerous cues for positive habits. Implementing effective environment design involves more than just adjusting to the world created by others. It's about actively designing your spaces to foster beneficial behaviors and diminish negative ones. By becoming proactive in how your environment is structured, you transform from being merely a consumer to being the architect of your life. This approach not only changes how you interact with your world, but empowers you to take control and shape your destiny. Context as the key to habits. The triggers for our habits may initially be quite specific, but eventually they become linked not just to a single stimulus, but to the entire context surrounding the behavior. For instance, drinking behavior often escalates in social settings compared to when one is alone. The trigger isn't just one element, but the entire scenario: the act of friends ordering drinks, the bar's ambiance, and the visible array of beverages. We tend to anchor our habits to specific places: home, office, gym. Each setting fosters a unique set of behaviors and routines tied to it. The relationship we develop with the objects in these spaces, like the items on our desk or kitchen counter, shapes our behaviors more than the objects themselves. This perspective shifts how we view our environments. Rather than seeing them as collections of objects, we should view them as networks of relationships. Our interactions with these spaces shape our habits. For example, one person's couch might be where they read each night, while for another, it's where they watch TV and snack. Fortunately, we can condition ourselves to associate certain habits with specific contexts. In one study, insomniacs were advised to go to bed only when sleepy and to leave the bedroom if unable to sleep. Eventually, their beds became strongly associated with sleep, making it easier to fall asleep upon going to bed. Changing habits can be easier in a new environment since it lacks the familiar triggers of old habits. Trying out a new coffee shop or a different spot in the park can help establish new routines. It's simpler to develop a new habit in a fresh context than to change a habit amid old cues. For instance, it's tough to sleep early if you usually watch TV in your bedroom. Similarly, studying in a room where you typically play video games can be distracting. Changing your environment helps bypass these old cues, allowing new habits to form unimpeded. For creative thinking, changing your physical surroundings, moving to a larger room or a place with expansive views can shift your mindset. Eating healthier might mean shopping at a different grocery store to disrupt autopilot behaviors. When changing locations isn't possible, redefining or rearranging your existing space can help. Create distinct areas for different activities. This approach helped me as an entrepreneur when I managed to designate a separate room as my office, which clearly separated work from personal life. Whenever possible, keep the contexts of different habits separate to prevent them from blending, as this can dilute the effectiveness of each. Technology exemplifies this challenge, as the versatility of devices like smartphones makes it hard to link them with specific tasks. In constrained spaces, such as a small apartment, define distinct zones for different activities. Similarly, assign specific devices for particular uses, like a computer for work, a tablet for reading, and a phone for social interactions. By sticking to these strategies, each context will foster specific habits and modes of thought. Habits prosper under stable and predictable conditions, just as focus sharpens at a dedicated work desk and relaxation comes easily in a designated quiet space. To foster consistent and stable behaviors, the environment itself must be stable and predictable, with a clear purpose for every space. The key to mastering self-control. In 1971, amidst the prolonged Vietnam War, Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois uncovered a startling fact. Over 15% of the U.S. soldiers in Vietnam were addicted to heroin. Further investigation showed that the situation was even graver, with 35% having tried heroin and around 20% currently addicted. This revelation prompted urgent actions in Washington, leading to the establishment of the Special Action Office of Drug Abuse Prevention by President Nixon. This initiative focused on both prevention and rehabilitation and closely monitored the returning soldiers. The research led by Lee Robbins upended the existing assumptions about addiction. Robbins discovered that upon returning home, only about 5% of the formerly addicted soldiers relapsed within a year, and only 12% relapsed within 3 years. This indicated that nearly 90% of those who used heroin in Vietnam overcame their addiction almost immediately upon returning home. This challenged the then prevailing notion that heroin addiction was a lifelong and irreversible affliction. Instead, Robbins demonstrated that environmental changes could lead to the dissolution of even severe addictions. In Vietnam, soldiers were constantly exposed to stress, easy access to drugs, and social circles that facilitated drug use. Back home, these triggers disappeared, leading to a dramatic reduction in addiction. This phenomenon starkly contrasts with the typical scenario of drug users who get clean in a controlled environment, only to relapse upon returning to their old trigger-filled environments. Here, the relapse rate often mirrors the inverse of the Vietnam study, where approximately 90% fall back into addiction. The Vietnam study shifts the narrative from viewing bad habits as a moral failing to understanding them as contextually driven. Society often labels those struggling with habits like overeating, smoking, or drug use as lacking self-discipline or moral integrity. However, research now suggests that what we perceive as self-control is less about individual moral strength and more about strategically managing one's environment to minimize temptations. The most disciplined individuals, it turns out, are not constantly exercising sheer willpower, but are instead adept at creating environments that reduce the need for it. This understanding is vital, as it aligns with how habits operate in the brain. Once formed, they can be triggered by specific cues, even after many years. For instance, a former smoker might find themselves craving a cigarette years later in a specific setting, like horseback riding, if that was their routine. This is because the environmental cue, the context of horseback riding in this case, reactivates the old habit. Understanding this mechanism, we see why attempts to change behaviors through fear or shame can backfire, intensifying the very habits we aim to eliminate. Habits self-perpetuate by creating the emotional states they ostensibly address, trapping individuals in a cycle of repeated behavior. This insight leads to a profound shift in strategy for changing behaviors. Instead of fighting a battle of wills against temptation, it is more effective to eliminate the cues that trigger bad habits. Simple actions like removing a television from the bedroom or keeping a phone in another room can profoundly reduce undesirable behaviors. Ultimately, self-control is not about continually denying temptation, but rather about smartly structuring our environments to sidestep the need for constant vigilance. By making the cues for desired behaviors obvious and those for undesirable ones invisible, we set the stage for lasting change. This strategic approach to behavior modification is the true secret to self-control. Making a habit irresistible. Lessons from Nico Tinbergen. In the 1940s, a Dutch scientist named Nico Tinbergen conducted groundbreaking experiments on herring gulls, earning him a Nobel Prize. These experiments shed light on the driving forces behind animal behavior, which also apply to humans. Tinbergen observed that herring gull chicks instinctively pecked at the red dot on their parents' beaks to indicate hunger. Curiously, when presented with artificial beaks bearing larger or multiple red dots, the chicks pecked even more vigorously, suggesting that an exaggerated cue triggered a stronger response. This principle of exaggerated cues, termed supernormal stimuli, explains much about both animal and human behavior. For example, Tinbergen noted that a gray-lag goose would diligently retrieve any round object near its nest, mistaking it for an egg, especially if the object was unusually large. Humans are similarly influenced by heightened versions of reality. Our evolved preferences for salt, sugar, and fat, once survival mechanisms, are now exploited by the food industry to create irresistibly tempting junk food. These ingredients were scarce and valuable during our hunter-gatherer days, but today, their abundance combined with our unchanged biological impulses leads to overconsumption. Food scientists meticulously craft products to maximize appeal, using techniques like optimizing texture, orosensation, and combining contrasting sensations, dynamic contrast, to create foods that continually engage our interest. The bliss point is a formulation specifically designed to trigger the maximum pleasure response, making these foods particularly habit-forming. This exploitation of our predilection for supernormal stimuli extends beyond food. In retail, exaggerated physical features on mannequins enhance clothing appeal. Social media platforms provide rapid-fire affirmation that outpaces real-life interactions. Even pornography presents an unrealistic frequency of sexually exciting scenarios. These are all examples of how modern life bombards us with hyper-stimulating versions of naturally appealing things, pushing our instincts to the extreme. These insights lead us to the second law of behavior change: make it attractive. The more appealing an activity or object is, the more likely it is to become a habit. As we look to the future, it's clear that the trend is towards increasingly concentrated forms of pleasure and reward, making these stimuli even harder to resist. To make a habit irresistible, it is crucial to understand and harness the mechanics of craving, primarily through the dopamine system in our brain. By recognizing the role of dopamine in habit formation, researchers have the capability to pinpoint the exact moment a craving starts by observing the levels of a neurotransmitter known as dopamine. This was first highlighted in a pivotal 1954 study by neuroscientists James Olds and Peter Milner, who demonstrated the neurological underpinnings of craving and desire. In their experiments, they inserted electrodes into the brains of rats to block dopamine release, leading to a startling discovery. The rats ceased engaging in essential life activities such as eating and mating and showed no signs of cravings. They eventually died from dehydration. Subsequent experiments involved inhibiting dopamine in the brain while introducing sugar to the rats. Despite the dopamine blockage, the rats still showed signs of enjoying the sugar indicated by pleasurable expressions, yet they no longer sought it out. While their capacity for pleasure remained intact, their desire vanished, leading to a cessation of action. Conversely, when other researchers stimulated the brain's reward system with high doses of dopamine, it resulted in animals rapidly accelerating their habit-driven behaviors. For instance, mice injected with dopamine when they touched a sensor in a box developed an intense compulsion, reaching up to 800 activations per hour. This phenomenon mirrors human behaviors, such as slot machine players who can engage in up to 600 spins per hour. This illustrates that habits are propelled by a dopamine-driven feedback loop. All behaviors that are highly addictive, such as drug use, overeating, gaming, and extensive social media browsing, trigger elevated dopamine levels. This also applies to fundamental behaviors like eating, drinking, engaging in sexual activities, and social interactions. Originally thought to be primarily associated with pleasure, dopamine is now understood to be integral to various neurological functions, including motivation, learning, memory, response to aversion, and voluntary movement. The central lesson about habits is that dopamine is released not only during pleasurable experiences, but also in anticipation of them. For example, a gambling addict experiences a surge of dopamine before a bet rather than after a win, and a cocaine addict's dopamine levels spike at the sight of the drug. It's the anticipation of a reward rather than its realization that compels us to act. The same neural reward system activated by receiving a reward is also triggered in anticipation of it. This explains why sometimes the anticipation of an event can be more thrilling than the event itself, such as a child dreaming about Christmas morning or an adult fantasizing about a vacation. The brain allocates a significant portion of its circuitry to the wanting of rewards, comprising major areas like the brain stem, nucleus accumbens, and ventral tegmental area, while the liking aspects occupy much smaller, scattered regions known as hedonic hotspots. This disproportion highlights the critical role that desire plays in driving behavior, demonstrating that actions are motivated by the anticipation they precede. Understanding this can profoundly affect how we approach behavior change, emphasizing the need to make our habits appealing. This approach, known as temptation bundling, leverages the power of anticipation to foster positive habits. Leveraging temptation bundling to enhance habit appeal. Ronan Byrne, an electrical engineering student in Dublin, tapped into his passion for Netflix to motivate himself to exercise more. He ingeniously modified his stationary bike to link with his laptop and TV, programming it so that Netflix would only play while he maintained a certain pedaling speed. Slowing down meant his favorite show would pause, a clever way to combat sedentary binge-watching habits. Byrne was essentially using a strategy called temptation bundling to make his exercise routine more appealing. This technique involves pairing a desired activity with a necessary one. In Byrne's scenario, he combined his enjoyment of Netflix with his need to exercise. This strategy is not just for individuals, businesses use it too. For example, when the American Broadcasting Company, ABC, introduced its Thursday night lineup for the 2014-2015 season, featuring shows by Shonda Rhimes, they executed a large-scale temptation bundling. Dubbing the event TGIT on ABC, Thank God It's Thursday, they encouraged viewers to unwind with popcorn and red wine while watching. Andrew Kubitz, ABC's head of scheduling, saw Thursday nights as an opportunity for viewers to relax and have fun, effectively linking leisure activities like drinking wine and eating popcorn with watching ABC's lineup. Over time, this association made tuning into ABC synonymous with relaxation and enjoyment, making the habit of watching TV on Thursday nights more attractive. Temptation bundling can also be personal and tailored to individual needs and wants. For instance, if you enjoy celebrity gossip but need to exercise more, you could make a rule to only indulge in tabloids at the gym. Or if you like getting pedicures but need to catch up on emails, you might decide to only treat yourself to a pedicure while organizing your inbox. This strategy aligns with Premack's principle, which suggests that more probable behaviors can reinforce less probable behaviors. Essentially, engaging in a desired activity can make a less appealing necessary task more tolerable. You can further refine this approach by combining it with habit stacking, a concept discussed earlier. This combines creating behavior sequences that tie a needed habit to a desired one. 1 after current habit, I will habit I need. 2 after habit I need, I will habit I want. For example, morning routine. After I grab my morning coffee, current habit, I will think of something I was grateful for yesterday, need. After that, I will catch up on the latest news, want. Work routine. After returning from lunch, current habit, I will make 3 sales calls, need. Once done, I'll check sports updates on ESPN, want. Leisure adjustment. When I reach for my phone, current habit, I'll do 10 burpees, need. After that, I can scroll through Facebook, want. The aim is to eventually look forward to the necessary activities because they enable you to engage in your preferred ones, creating a compelling reason to stick to your habits. Temptation bundling creates a more enticing version of a habit by linking it with something you already enjoy. While crafting an irresistible habit might be challenging, this straightforward technique can make nearly any habit significantly more appealing. Family and friends play a significant role in shaping our habits. In 1965, Laszlo Polgar, a Hungarian man, passionately rejected the notion of innate talent, advocating instead for the power of deliberate practice and good habits in shaping genius. He sought a wife, Clara, who shared his beliefs, and together they embarked on an experiment to nurture their children into chess prodigies. Their daughters, Susan, Sophia, and Judith, were immersed in a home environment saturated with chess. Homeschooled and constantly engaged in chess-related activities, they swiftly rose to prominence in the chess world. Their extraordinary achievements showcase not only their talent, but also the profound influence of their upbringing. Despite the unconventional nature of their childhood, the Polgar sisters fondly reminisce about their upbringing. Their household, where chess was paramount, instilled in them a deep love for the game. Their story underscores how familial and societal norms can shape behavior, making certain habits not just accepted, but celebrated. The alluring force of social conventions. In our human nature lies a tendency to congregate. We yearn for acceptance, connection, and validation from our peers, ingrained deeply within our survival instincts. Throughout our evolutionary journey, our ancestors thrived in tribes where separation from the group spelled doom. Thus, the axiom, "The lone wolf dies, but the pack survives," resonates through our collective history. Collaboration and bonding within these tribes ensured safety, reproductive opportunities, and access to resources, as noted by Charles Darwin. Hence, the innate desire to belong remains one of our primal urges, casting a significant sway over our contemporary behaviors. From our earliest days, we don't consciously select habits. Rather, we absorb them from our social milieu, friends, family, community, and broader society. Each group brings forth its own norms and expectations, subtly shaping our daily conduct. These social norms, though often invisible, serve as guiding principles, subtly influencing our actions, even when not at the forefront of our consciousness. As Michel de Montaigne remarked, the customs and practices of life and society sweep us along. Typically, conforming to these norms feels effortless, as the innate desire to belong pervades. Growing up in a family that values chess, for instance, makes the game appealing. Similarly, working in an environment where expensive suits are the norm encourages similar expenditure. Such behaviors become attractive when they facilitate inclusion. 3 particular groups hold sway over our habits. 1. The close. Proximity significantly impacts our behavior, both physically and socially. We emulate the actions of those nearest to us, be it parents, peers, or coworkers. Whether it's adopting their communication style or lifestyle habits, our proximity to them amplifies the likelihood of imitation. Research demonstrates that individuals are more prone to obesity if their close contacts are obese, showcasing the potent influence of immediate social circles. To harness this effect for positive change, immersing oneself in a culture where desired behaviors are commonplace proves beneficial. Observing others regularly engage in these behaviors renders them more attainable. Moreover, joining a group where common interests already exist further enhances the appeal of habit formation, as shared identities foster a sense of belonging. The many. Solomon Ash's experiments elucidate the human tendency to conform in the face of uncertainty. When unsure, we instinctively look to the group for guidance, even if it means disregarding our own perceptions. As the number of concurring voices increases, so does the inclination to align with them, irrespective of personal conviction. However, this inclination towards conformity can sometimes stifle individual aspirations, as observed in chimpanzees adapting less efficient behaviors to assimilate with their group. The allure of acceptance often outweighs the desire for authenticity, compelling individuals to prioritize conformity over personal convictions. 3. The powerful. Human aspiration for power, prestige, and status drives us to emulate behaviors that garner admiration and respect. From mimicking successful individuals to avoiding actions detrimental to our status, our daily habits often mirror those we admire. High-status individuals wield considerable influence, their actions serving as benchmarks for emulation. The Polgar sisters exemplify the enduring impact of social influences on behavior. Their relentless pursuit of chess mastery stemmed not only from personal dedication, but also from cultural validation and acclaim. Positive reinforcement from their environment reinforced their commitment, underscoring the symbiotic relationship between individual effort and societal recognition. In essence, social norms exert a profound influence on our behaviors, guiding us towards conformity and acceptance within our social spheres. Understanding and leveraging these dynamics can empower individuals to cultivate habits conducive to personal growth and fulfillment within the tapestry of social conventions. Discovering and rectifying the roots of your unwanted habits. In late 2012, amidst the bustling streets of Istanbul, I found myself in a quaint apartment just a stone's throw away from Istiklal Caddesi. Accompanying me on this journey was Mike, not your typical guide, but rather a fellow explorer who had made Turkey his home for the past 5 years. As we lounged in the weathered armchairs, Mike shared insights gleaned from his own experiences while I soaked in the warmth of his wisdom. Our evening unfolded amidst the company of Turkish friends, a diverse group whose common bond was their past dalliance with smoking. Intrigued by their stories, I probed into the genesis of this habit. One of them shrugged and remarked, "It all starts with friends, one puff, and the journey begins." Yet, what truly captivated me was the revelation that half of those present had successfully severed ties with cigarettes. Mike, a testament to this triumph, attributed his liberation to a book titled Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. According to Mike, the book didn't merely provide a cessation method, it dismantled the mental fortresses erected by addiction. It confronts you with the truth, he explained. You realize you're not a victim of nicotine's grasp, you're reclaiming control. Intrigued, I delved into its pages, uncovering a revolutionary approach to combat cravings. Carr systematically dismantles the allure of smoking, reshaping perceptions with each turn of phrase. You're not quitting anything. Cigarettes offer nothing of value. Socializing doesn't hinge on smoking. It's a myth. Stress relief? Smoking only exacerbates anxiety. It doesn't assuage it. Repeated like mantras, these assertions upend the allure of smoking until it appears absurd. By reframing smoking's allure, Carr engineers an unattractive narrative, shattering the illusion of benefit. Now, this might seem simplistic at first glance, mere mental gymnastics to quit a physical addiction. But consider this. By reprogramming your mind, you redefine your relationship with the habit. It's a paradigm shift, a journey from victimhood to empowerment. Uncovering the origins of cravings. Every action we take stems from both a surface-level craving and a deeper, underlying motive. Take, for instance, the desire to indulge in tacos. If asked why, one might not respond with the necessity of sustenance, but rather the immediate craving for tacos. Yet at a fundamental level, the urge arises from the primal need for sustenance, food and water, albeit expressed through a specific craving. These underlying motives encompass various facets of human existence: preserving energy, obtaining sustenance, seeking companionship and reproduction, establishing connections and bonds, gaining social validation and acceptance, easing uncertainties, attaining status and recognition. A craving, then, is merely a surface expression of these deeper motivations. Human brains didn't evolve with a predilection for smoking or scrolling through social media. Rather, These actions serve to alleviate anxiety, seek validation, or fulfill other inherent needs. Consider modern habits in light of these primal motives. Seeking companionship and reproduction finds expression in apps like Tinder. Social validation drives actions on platforms like Instagram. Easing uncertainties is tackled through search engines like Google. Attaining status and recognition is pursued through activities such as gaming. These habits represent contemporary solutions to age-old desires, showcasing the enduring nature of human motivations. The crucial realization is that there are numerous ways to address these underlying motives. Smoking, for instance, might relieve stress for us for one person, while another finds solace in exercise. Current habits aren't necessarily the most effective solutions, but rather learned responses to perceived problems. Habits hinge on associations, shaped by predictions based on environmental cues and past experiences. Life, therefore, is not merely reactive, but predictive, with behavior dictated by anticipations of future outcomes. Predictions lead to emotions, which transform perceptions and predictions into actionable signals. Cravings arise as a sense of lacking, a desire to alter one's internal state. Desire, then, emerges from the disparity between the present state and the envisioned future. Ultimately, habits and cravings serve as attempts to address fundamental motives. Positive associations lead to repeated behaviors, as we learn to predict outcomes based on past experiences. Leveraging this understanding, we can harness habits for personal growth rather than succumb to their potentially detrimental effects. How to rewire your brain to embrace tough habits. Hard habits can become more appealing if you learn to link them with positive experiences. Sometimes, a simple shift in mindset is all it takes. Consider the language we use when discussing our daily tasks. We often speak of things we have to do: wake up early for work, make sales calls, cook dinner. Now imagine changing just one word. Instead of have, think get. You get to wake up early for work. You get to make sales calls. You get to cook dinner. With this small adjustment, you change your perception of each task, turning burdens into opportunities. Both perspectives are valid. You do have to do these things, but you also get to. The choice of mindset is yours. I once heard about a man who used a wheelchair. When asked if he found it confining, he replied, "I'm not confined to my wheelchair, I am liberated by it. Without it, I would be bedbound and never able to leave my house." This shift in perspective transformed his daily life. By reframing habits to focus on their benefits rather than drawbacks, you can quickly and effortlessly reprogram your mind to find them more appealing. Exercise. Instead of viewing it as draining, see it as a way to develop skills and strengthen yourself. Rather than saying, "I need to go for a run," say, "It's time to build endurance and speed." Finance. Instead of seeing saving as sacrifice, see it as a means to future freedom. Saving now increases your purchasing power later. Meditation. Rather than being frustrated by distractions, see them as opportunities to practice focus and return to your breath. Pre-game nerves. Rather than interpreting anxiety negatively, view it as excitement and use it to sharpen your focus. These mindset shifts aren't magic, but they can change how you feel about a habit or situation. To further motivate yourself, create a ritual. Associate your habits with something you enjoy, then use that cue for motivation. For example, if you always play a specific song before intimacy, you'll associate the music with the act, enhancing your mood. Athletes use similar strategies to get in the right mindset. Develop a routine that primes you for the task at hand, whether it's writing, playing a sport, or simply feeling happier. The key is to reframe your associations with habits. It's not easy, but by changing your perceptions, you can turn a tough habit into an appealing one. In the opening session of his class, Jerry Woolsman, a professor at the University of Florida, split his film photography students into two factions. He designated the left side of the room as the quantity group, where students would be evaluated solely on the volume of work they produced. Their final grades would be determined by the number of photos submitted: 100 for an A, 90 for a B, and so on. Conversely, the right side of the classroom represented the quality group. Here, students were tasked with delivering just one photo, but it had to be near perfection to secure an A grade. Upon conclusion of the term, Woolsman was taken aback to discover that the quantity group had produced the most outstanding photos. Throughout the semester, these students had been actively engaged in taking photos, experimenting with techniques, and refining their skills. Meanwhile, the quality group, fixated on achieving perfection, had little to show beyond theoretical discussions and a solitary mediocre image. This tale underscores the distinction between being in motion and taking action. While planning and strategizing are important aspects of motion, they alone do not yield tangible results. Action, on the other hand, is the driving force behind actual outcomes. It's the difference between brainstorming ideas for articles and actually sitting down to write one, or between researching diet plans and committing to a healthy meal. Often, we get stuck in motion because it feels like progress without the risk of failure. We may convince ourselves that having conversations with potential clients or brainstorming ideas constitutes progress, when in reality we're merely procrastinating. How long does it actually take to develop a new habit? The process of habit formation involves the gradual automation of a behavior through repetition. As you repeat an activity, your brain undergoes structural changes to optimize its performance. This process, known as long-term potentiation, involves strengthening the connections between neurons based on repeated patterns of activity. Coined by neuropsychologist Donald Hebb in 1949, this concept, often referred to as Hebb's law, states that neurons that fire together wire together. Repeated habits lead to discernible physical alterations in the brain. For instance, musicians exhibit a larger cerebellum, crucial for physical movements like plucking guitar strings or bowing a violin. Similarly, mathematicians show increased gray matter in the inferior parietal lobule, linked to computation and calculation skills, which correlates with their experience in the field. Studies on London taxi drivers revealed that their hippocampus, the brain region associated with spatial memory, was significantly larger compared to non-taxi drivers. Remarkably, this region decreased in size upon retirement, akin to muscles responding to regular exercise or atrophy upon disuse. The significance of repetition in habit formation has been acknowledged for centuries. English philosopher George H. Lewes observed in 1860 that with frequent repetition, difficulty in tasks such as learning a new language or playing a musical instrument diminishes as pathways in the brain become established. Each repetition of an action activates a specific neural circuit associated with the habit. Therefore, consistent practice is essential in encoding a new habit. Whether it's practicing photography or any skill, active engagement yields better results than passive learning. All habits transition from deliberate practice to automatic behavior, a phenomenon known as automaticity. This entails performing a behavior without conscious effort as the non-conscious mind takes control. The duration it takes for a habit to become automatic isn't determined by a fixed time frame like 21 days or 30 days. Rather, it depends on the frequency of the behavior. Successful habit formation requires stringing together enough repetitions until the behavior is ingrained in your routine. Ultimately, the focus should be on taking actionable steps towards progress rather than fixating on the time it takes for a habit to become automatic. To cultivate a habit effectively, it's essential to adhere to the third law of behavior change. Make it easy. Subsequent chapters will delve into strategies for achieving this goal. In his acclaimed work, Guns, Germs, and Steel, Jared Diamond illuminates a fundamental reality. Continents possess diverse shapes, and this seemingly trivial fact profoundly influences human behavior. The Americas and Africa are characterized by elongated north-south axes, while Europe, Asia, and the Middle East stretch more expansively from east to west. This distinction played a pivotal role in the historical diffusion of agriculture. Farmers found it more feasible to expand along east-west routes due to consistent climates, sunlight, and rainfall along similar latitudes. In contrast, the variance in climate from north to south necessitated adapting to new plants, hindering agricultural spread along those axes. Consequently, agriculture diffused significantly faster across Asia and Europe than the Americas. This disparity catalyzed population growth, military strength, and technological advancements over centuries, showcasing the profound impact of slight geographic variances. This diffusion parallels the law of least effort, which posits that individuals naturally opt for the path of least resistance. Despite conventional notions emphasizing motivation and habit formation, humans are innately inclined towards convenience. Energy conservation drives this inclination, as actions requiring less energy are more likely to occur. For instance, habitual behaviors like phone scrolling or TV watching persist due to their minimal effort requirements. Habits, viewed as obstacles to desired outcomes, should be optimized for ease of execution. Simplifying habits increases the likelihood of adherence, aligning with the philosophy of making desired behaviors effortless. However, the ease-centric approach doesn't negate the capacity for tackling challenges. Rather, it aims to mitigate friction on difficult days, enabling resilience and facilitating long-term success. Thus, the ethos is not merely to pursue ease, but to strategically ease the path towards enduring achievements. How to accomplish more with less effort. Imagine holding a garden hose that's kinked in the middle. Some water flows through, but not much. To boost the flow, you have two choices. Crank up the valve or straighten the hose and let water flow freely. Boosting motivation to stick with a tough habit is like forcing water through a kinked hose. Possible, but effort-intensive, adding tension to life. Conversely, simplifying habits is like removing the kink. Instead of battling friction, you reduce it. Environment design is a potent tool for reducing habit friction. Choosing a spot along your daily routine for a new habit integrates it seamlessly into your life. For instance, placing the gym on your commute path makes going there effortless. Conversely, starting habits in high-friction environments, like strict diets during social outings, hinders progress. In the 1970s, Japanese firms pioneered lean production, eliminating wasteful processes, even redesigning workspaces for efficiency. By subtracting waste, they added efficiency. Similarly, removing friction from our lives helps us achieve more with less effort. The most habit-forming products excel at eliminating friction. Meal delivery, dating apps, and ride-sharing services all streamline daily tasks. Successful companies automate, eliminate, or simplify steps to make using their products effortless. For instance, voice-activated speakers simplify music playback compared to pulling out a phone. Similarly, governments improve tax collection rates by reducing steps in the process. The key is creating an environment where doing the right thing is effortless. Building better habits involves reducing friction for good habits and increasing it for bad ones. Prepare your environment for future use. Oswald Knuckles, an IT developer hailing from Natchez, Mississippi, recognizes the significance of setting the stage for his activities. Knuckles has fine-tuned his cleaning routine with what he terms resetting the room. After each activity, like finishing a television program, he meticulously restores order, returning the remote to its place, arranging pillows and folding blankets. Exiting his car prompts a quick disposal of any trash. Even during his shower routine, he multitasks by wiping down the toilet while waiting for the water to warm up. His objective isn't solely tidying up after himself, but rather priming the environment for what comes next. Every room I enter is meticulously arranged, Knuckles explains. By consistently adopting this approach, maintenance becomes effortless. People perceive me as hardworking, but truthfully, I'm just proactive about my laziness. It's incredibly time-saving. The act of organizing a space for its intended purpose sets the stage for seamless transitions to subsequent tasks. For instance, my wife organizes greeting cards by occasion, streamlining the process of sending them out. Her efficiency stems from minimizing the hurdles involved. In contrast, I used to struggle with timely card sending until I streamlined the process. There are myriad ways to optimize your environment for immediate utility. For instance, if you aim to prepare a healthy breakfast, set out the skillet, cooking spray, plates, and utensils the night before. This simple act streamlines your morning routine. Similarly, if you aspire to draw more, keep your drawing supplies easily accessible on your desk. To facilitate regular exercise, lay out your workout gear and essentials beforehand. Improving your diet? Pre-chop fruits and vegetables on weekends for quick access to healthy snacks during the week. These strategies ensure that positive habits become the path of least resistance. Conversely, you can employ this principle to deter undesirable behaviors. For instance, to curb excessive television watching, unplug the TV after each use. Only reconnect it if you can verbally articulate the show you intend to watch, introducing enough friction to discourage mindless viewing. For added deterrence, remove the batteries from the remote and stow the television in a closet after each use. The inconvenience ensures that viewing is a deliberate choice rather than a habit. Personally, I leave my phone in another room until lunchtime to minimize distractions. The slight inconvenience prevents impulsive usage, allowing for uninterrupted work. If necessary, enlist assistance from others to impose barriers to unwanted behaviors. Whether it's having a friend hide your phone or relocating it to a coworker's desk, external support can bolster your efforts. Small adjustments like placing beer out of sight or deleting social media apps can have a significant impact on behavior. While these tactics may not combat serious addictions, they effectively deter many of us from slipping into negative habits. Imagine the collective effect of implementing numerous such changes, creating an environment where positive actions are effortless and negative ones are challenging. Whether as individuals, parents, coaches, or leaders, we should strive to design environments conducive to virtuous conduct. By reshaping our surroundings, we ensure that the most beneficial actions are also the most accessible ones. Learn to combat procrastination with the 2-minute rule. Twyla Tharp, an iconic figure in the world of dance and choreography, has been celebrated for her contributions to the modern era. Recognized with a prestigious MacArthur Fellowship in 1992, commonly known as the Genius Grant, much of her success can be attributed to her adherence to simple daily rituals. Tharp eloquently describes her morning routine, which begins promptly at 5:30 a.m., with the donning of workout attire and a trip to the gym via cab. Interestingly, she highlights that it's not the physical exercise that defines her ritual, but the simple act of hailing the taxi. This seemingly trivial action symbolizes completion and sets the tone for her day. This ritual exemplifies the essence of the third law of behavior change, where small habits wield significant influence. Research suggests that nearly half of our daily actions stem from habit, guiding subsequent decisions. Much like merging onto a highway, habits propel us forward, shaping our behaviors in ways we may not consciously realize. For me, a pivotal moment occurs around 5:15 p.m. each evening when the choice between heading to the gym or lounging at home arises. Similar to Tharp's cab ritual, the decision to change into workout clothes signals a commitment to exercise. Once initiated, the subsequent steps, driving to the gym, selecting exercises, unfold effortlessly. These moments, termed decisive moments, wield considerable power in shaping our trajectories. Whether opting for takeout or cooking dinner, driving or biking, starting homework or indulging in leisure, each choice steers the course of our actions. Just as entering a restaurant dictates meal options, habitual choices dictate our available paths. Mastering these decisive moments is key to directing our daily journeys. While each day comprises numerous choices, it's the habitual ones that chart our courses. Understanding that habits serve as gateways rather than destinations empowers us to navigate our lives with intentionality. The 2-minute rule. Even when you understand the importance of starting small, it's common to overcommit right from the beginning. When you're envisioning a change, excitement tends to overshadow rationality, leading to attempts to tackle too much, too soon. To counteract this tendency effectively, I advocate for the 2-minute rule, which suggests that when initiating a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to accomplish. Almost any habit can be condensed into a 2-minute version. Read before bed each night becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Fold the laundry becomes fold 1 pair of socks. Run 3 miles becomes tie my running shoes. The goal is to make habits incredibly easy to start. Anyone can spare 1 minute for meditation, read 1 page of a book, or tidy up 1 item. This approach is powerful because once you've initiated the desired action, it becomes much simpler to continue. A new habit should not feel like a challenge. Instead, the initial 2 minutes should be effortless. What you're aiming for is a gateway habit that naturally leads you into a more productive trajectory. Identifying gateway habits that align with your goals involves assessing them on a scale from very easy to very hard. For example, while running a marathon is very challenging, putting on your running shoes is exceedingly simple. Your ultimate goal might be to run a marathon, but your gateway habit is simply putting on your running shoes. That's how you employ the 2-minute rule. Initially, it might seem odd to get excited about reading one page, meditating for 1 minute, or making one sales call. However, the objective isn't to stop at just one. It's about mastering the habit of showing up consistently. Before a habit can be refined, it must first be established. If you can't commit to the basic act of showing up, mastering the finer details becomes improbable. Rather than attempting to perfect a habit right away, focus on consistently performing the easy part. Standardization precedes optimization. As you become adept at showing up, the first 2 minutes become a ritual preceding a larger routine. This isn't merely a hack to make habits easier. It's the optimal approach to mastering a challenging skill. Ritualizing the beginning of a process increases the likelihood of entering a state of deep focus necessary for achieving great things. By following a consistent warm-up routine before every workout, slipping into a state of peak performance becomes easier. Similarly, establishing a regular creative ritual simplifies the daunting task of creating. Consistently adhering to a power-down routine makes it easier to maintain a healthy sleep schedule. While you might not be able to automate the entire process, you can make the first action effortless. Simplify the start, and the rest will follow. Some may view the 2-minute rule as a gimmick. Knowing that the ultimate objective is to surpass 2 minutes might make it feel like self-deception. However, if the rule feels contrived, try this. Commit to just 2 minutes, then stop. Begin your run, but halt after 2 minutes. Start meditating, but conclude after 2 minutes. Initiate Arabic study, but cease after 2 minutes. The rule isn't merely a strategy for beginning, it encompasses the entire process. Your habit is limited to 120 seconds. A reader of mine applied this strategy to shed over 100 pounds. Initially, he visited the gym daily, but restricted himself to just 5 minutes. He'd exercise for 5 minutes, then leave promptly. After a few weeks, he realized, well, I'm consistently coming here anyway, I might as well start staying a bit longer. Several years later, he had achieved his weight loss goal. Journaling offers another illustration. Nearly everyone can benefit from jotting down their thoughts, yet many abandon the practice after a short time or avoid it altogether because it feels burdensome. The key is to always stop before it feels like work. Leadership consultant Greg McKeown cultivated a daily journaling habit by deliberately writing less than he desired, always ending before it became tedious. Ernest Hemingway advocated a similar approach for writing, advising to stop when the writing is flowing smoothly. These strategies work because they reinforce the identity you aim to build. Consistently showing up at the gym, even for just 2 minutes, affirms your commitment to your new identity. Rather than focusing solely on the end goal, remember that one push-up is better than none. 1 minute of practice is better than none, and 1 minute of reading is better than avoiding it altogether. It's preferable to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. Once you've established the habit and are consistently showing up, you can merge the 2-minute rule with a technique known as habit shaping to gradually scale up toward your ultimate goal. Begin by mastering the first 2 minutes of the smallest version of the behavior, then advance to an intermediate step, repeating the process and focusing solely on the initial 2 minutes at each stage. Eventually, you'll achieve the habit you initially aspired to, while maintaining focus on the crucial first 2 minutes of the behavior. Crafting good habits to be inevitable and bad habits to be impossible. In the summer of 1830, Victor Hugo faced an insurmountable deadline. A year prior, the French author had pledged his publisher a new book. Yet, instead of dedicating himself to writing, he spent the time on various distractions, entertaining guests, and procrastinating. His publisher, growing impatient, set a deadline barely 6 months away, demanding completion by February 1831. To combat his procrastination, Hugo devised an unconventional strategy. He gathered all his garments, instructing an assistant to lock them away in a substantial chest. Left with nothing but a large shawl to wear, Hugo found himself devoid of suitable attire to venture outdoors. This deliberate deprivation anchored him to his study, where he fervently wrote throughout the fall and winter of 1830. The result, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, was published 2 weeks ahead of schedule on January 14th, 1831. Success often hinges not on making good habits effortless, but on rendering bad habits arduous. This principle challenges the conventional wisdom of behavior change, flipping the script on the third law of behavior change, make it difficult. When confronted with perpetual struggles in adhering to plans, adopting a tactic akin to Victor Hugo's can be advantageous, a commitment device. A commitment device is a decision made in the present to regulate future actions, serving as a mechanism to cement beneficial behaviors while curbing detrimental ones. Hugo's act of locking away his clothing to concentrate on writing exemplifies the implementation of a commitment device. There exist myriad methods to enact commitment devices. One might curb overeating by opting for individually portioned food items rather than bulk purchases. Another could proactively request inclusion on the exclusion list at casinos or online gaming platforms to deter impulsive gambling. Athletes striving to meet weight requirements for competitions might choose to leave their wallets at home during the lead-up to weigh-ins to resist fast food temptations. Consider the example of Nir Eyal, a friend and habits expert who invested in an outlet timer. This device, interposed between his internet router and the power outlet, automatically cuts off power at 10 p.m. nightly, signaling the end of internet usage and encouraging a bedtime routine. Commitment devices capitalize on positive intentions before succumbing to temptation becomes a possibility. For instance, when aiming to reduce calorie intake, one might preemptively request half their meal be boxed before it arrives. This proactive approach circumvents the urge to overeat once faced with a full plate. The crux lies in restructuring tasks to make deviating from good habits more laborious than adhering to them. For those aspiring to fitness, scheduling and prepaying for a yoga session can serve as a commitment device. Similarly, entrepreneurs can solidify their commitment to a new venture by arranging consulting calls with respected mentors in advance. Canceling these commitments necessitates effort and potentially incurs financial consequences, discouraging deviation from intended goals. While commitment devices elevate the likelihood of adhering to beneficial behaviors, further optimization is possible. By engineering circumstances where good habits become inevitable and bad habits unattainable, individuals can fortify their path towards lasting change. How to automate a habit and let it fade into the background. Born in 1844 in Dayton, Ohio, John Henry Patterson's upbringing involved farm chores and work at his father's sawmill. After college at Dartmouth, he returned to Ohio, launching a supply store for coal miners. Despite steady traffic, the business struggled due to employee theft, a common issue in the mid-1800s when monitoring transactions was arduous. Facing this challenge, Patterson stumbled upon a solution: Ritty's incorruptible cashier, the first cash register, invented by a local resident, James Ritty. Patterson invested in two, and the theft problem vanished. Impressed, he bought the rights to the invention and founded the National Cash Register Company, which flourished into one of the era's most successful businesses. The genius of the cash register lay in automating ethical behavior, rendering theft practically impossible. It exemplified the principle of making preferred behavior automatic, rather than trying to change individuals. Similarly, many one-time choices can yield ongoing benefits, automating positive habits without ongoing effort. By employing technology, tasks become easier, paving the way for better sleep, healthier eating, increased productivity, and more. Automation extends beyond daily habits, addressing infrequent tasks like prescription refills or investment portfolio rebalancing. By delegating these to technology, one frees up time and energy for growth. However, while technology streamlines tasks, it can also fuel negative habits like binge watching. Convenience fosters impulsivity, diverting attention from meaningful pursuits. Recognizing this, one author experimented with a weekly social media password reset to curb distraction. Surprisingly, adaptation was swift, revealing that habits can be reshaped when obstacles are introduced. In harnessing automation, commitment devices, strategic decisions, and technology create an environment where good habits flourish effortlessly, ensuring desired outcomes with minimal reliance on willpower. the fundamental principle of behavior transformation. In the late 1990s, Stephen Luby, a public health advocate, departed from his hometown in Omaha, Nebraska, purchasing a one-way ticket to Karachi, Pakistan. Karachi, with a population exceeding 9 million by 1998, stood as one of the world's most populous cities. Despite its vibrancy as an economic and transportation center, it was also among the least habitable. Over 60% of its inhabitants resided in congested slums, lacking basic amenities such as waste disposal, electricity, and clean water. The dire conditions led to widespread illness, particularly among children, due to contaminated water sources and unsanitary living conditions. Luby and his team identified a simple yet crucial solution: hand washing. However, they faced a challenge despite widespread awareness of its importance. Many residents lacked consistency in practicing it. This inconsistency stemmed not from ignorance, but from the absence of a rewarding experience. Partnering with Procter & Gamble, Luby introduced Safeguard soap, which offered a more pleasant hand-washing experience compared to traditional options. The soap's foaming action and pleasant scent made hand-washing enjoyable. This shift towards immediate satisfaction led to significant health improvements in the community, demonstrating the power of the fourth law of behavior change: make it satisfying. Humans are inclined to repeat behaviors that offer immediate satisfaction, as it signals the brain that the action is worth repeating. Historical examples, such as the rise of flavored chewing gum and toothpaste, highlight how enhancing the experience leads to increased adoption and repetition. Conversely, unsatisfying experiences deter future engagement. The cardinal rule of behavior change emphasizes that behaviors rewarded are likely to be repeated while those punished are avoided. Positive emotions foster habit formation, while negative ones hinder it. The first three laws, make it obvious, attractive, and easy, set the stage for behavior performance, while the fourth, make it satisfying, contrasting immediate and delayed rewards. Imagine yourself as an animal traversing the African plains: a giraffe, an elephant, or a lion. In this environment, your daily decisions yield instant results. Whether it's finding food, seeking shelter, or evading predators, the consequences of your actions are immediate. This is what scientists term an immediate return environment, where outcomes are swiftly apparent. Now, transition back to your human existence. In the complexities of modern society, the choices you make today often bear fruits much later. Excelling at work may result in a paycheck weeks down the line. Exercising today might translate to fitness gains in the distant future. Saving money now could secure a comfortable retirement years from now. Here, we operate within what scientists define as a delayed return environment, where the rewards of our actions take time to materialize. However, the human brain evolved not for this delayed return environment, but for immediate return scenarios. The earliest Homo sapiens, dating back around 200,000 years, possessed brains akin to ours today. Remarkably, the neocortex, the seat of higher cognitive functions, remains relatively unchanged over this vast time span. We navigate the modern world with the same neural hardware as our ancient ancestors. Only in the last few centuries has society predominantly shifted towards a delayed return structure. In contrast to the age of our brain, modern society is a recent development. Over the past century, technological advancements such as cars, airplanes, the internet, and smartphones have revolutionized our world. Yet, amidst these changes, human nature remains largely unaltered. Similar to animals on the savannah, our ancestors grappled with immediate concerns: securing sustenance, avoiding danger, seeking shelter. In such an environment, prioritizing instant gratification made evolutionary sense. However, after millennia in this immediate return setting, our brains developed a preference for short-term gains over long-term benefits. Behavioral economists label this inclination as time inconsistency, a bias where present rewards outweigh future ones. Typically, this serves us well, as immediate rewards hold greater value. Yet, it can lead to detrimental behavior when the consequences of actions are delayed. Consider why individuals engage in activities like smoking, overeating, or unsafe sex despite knowing the long-term risks. The immediate pleasure of these actions outweighs the delayed consequences. Smoking relieves stress instantly, despite the risk of lung cancer in the future. Similarly, overeating offers immediate gratification, overshadowing the threat of obesity. Pleasure from sex is immediate while the risk of disease is distant. Each habit yields outcomes across time, often with misaligned consequences. Bad habits offer immediate rewards but lead to long-term repercussions. Good habits, on the other hand, entail short-term sacrifices for long-term benefits. Understanding the brain's preference for the present underscores the unreliability of good intentions alone. Plans made for the future self often succumb to the allure of instant gratification in the present. To overcome this, aligning habits with both immediate and delayed rewards is crucial. Recognizing this, the cardinal rule of behavior change can be refined. Immediate rewards reinforce behavior, while immediate punishments deter it. Success often lies in navigating the road of delayed gratification, a less traveled path, yet one that promises greater rewards in the long run. Research attests to this. Individuals adept at delaying gratification exhibit higher academic performance, lower substance abuse rates, reduced obesity risk, and better stress management. The correlation between delayed gratification and success is evident across various domains of life. Yet, despite understanding the benefits of delayed gratification, many struggle to prioritize it in the moment. Training oneself to delay gratification involves integrating immediate pleasure into habits with long-term benefits and immediate discomfort into those detrimental to future well-being. Maximizing the benefits of instant gratification. The key to ingraining a habit effectively lies in experiencing success, no matter how small. This feeling of accomplishment serves as validation that your efforts were worthwhile. Ideally, the habit itself should be its own reward. However, in reality, it often takes time before the benefits of good habits become apparent. Initially, it may feel like a series of sacrifices without immediate payoff. This is where immediate rewards play a crucial role. They provide the necessary excitement while the long-term benefits slowly accumulate. Immediate rewards are particularly valuable in breaking habits of avoidance, where the absence of action can make progress feel intangible. To counter this, it's essential to make the act of avoidance visible. For instance, creating a designated savings account and depositing money saved from refraining from impulse purchases can serve as a tangible reward. This transforms the act of restraint into a satisfying accomplishment, akin to establishing a personal loyalty program. Moreover, the choice of short-term rewards should align with your desired identity rather than contradict it. For instance, rewarding oneself with leisure time instead of material purchases reinforces goals like financial independence. Similarly, associating exercise with activities that promote self-care, like a massage, strengthens the connection between the habit and long-term well-being. Ultimately, as intrinsic rewards such as improved mood and vitality kick in, external incentives become less crucial. The habit itself becomes intertwined with your identity, making it easier to maintain in the long run. However, during the initial stages, immediate reinforcement serves as a valuable tool to sustain motivation until the habit becomes second nature. In essence, by incorporating enjoyable immediate rewards, habits become more pleasurable and sustainable. Embracing change becomes effortless when it brings immediate gratification. How to maintain consistent good habits. Back in 1993, a young stockbroker named Trent Dursmid joined a bank in Abbotsford, Canada. Despite being in a small suburb overshadowed by Vancouver's bustling business scene, and despite his rookie status, Dursmid exceeded expectations thanks to a simple daily routine. His secret? 2 jars on his desk each morning, one filled with 120 paper clips, the other empty. With each sales call he made, he'd transfer a paper clip from the full jar to the empty one. Every morning, I would start with 120 paper clips in one jar, and I would keep dialing the phone until I had moved them all to the second jar, he explained. Within 18 months, Dursmid was generating $5 million for the firm. By age 24, he was earning $75,000 annually, an impressive sum then, even more so today. Soon after, he secured a 6-figure position with another company. I've dubbed this approach the paperclip strategy, and over time, I've heard from readers who've adapted it in various ways. One woman moved a hairpin from one container to another after writing each page of her book. Another man shifted a marble after completing each set of push-ups. The satisfaction of seeing progress, coupled with visual indicators like moving paper clips or hairpins, reinforces positive behavior. Visual cues offer tangible evidence of advancement and provide immediate gratification to any task. There are countless forms of visual measurement, from food journals to workout logs to loyalty punch cards. But perhaps the most effective method is using a habit tracker to monitor your progress consistently. How to maintain your habit streak. Keeping track of your habits is crucial for staying on course. A habit tracker offers a straightforward method to monitor your progress. The fundamental approach involves using a calendar and marking off each day you successfully stick to your routine. For instance, if you meditate on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, you mark an X on those dates. Over time, your calendar becomes a visual record of your habit streak. One of the most notable figures to use habit tracking was Benjamin Franklin. Starting at the age of 20, Franklin carried a small booklet with him everywhere to track 13 personal virtues, such as lose no time and avoid trifling conversation. Each day, he would record his progress in this booklet. Jerry Seinfeld is another advocate of habit tracking. In the documentary Comedian, he emphasizes the importance of never breaking the chain when it comes to his daily joke writing habit. Instead of focusing on the quality of each joke, Seinfeld prioritizes consistency in adding to his streak. The mantra, "Don't break the chain," holds immense power. Maintaining a consistent streak, whether it's in sales calls, workouts, or creative endeavors, can lead to significant success. Habit tracking taps into various laws of behavior change by making behaviors obvious, attractive, and satisfying simultaneously. Let's delve into each benefit. 1. Habit tracking is obvious. Recording your actions creates a trigger for your next behavior. Visual cues like a streak of X's on a calendar or a list of meals in a food log serve as reminders to act. Research shows that tracking progress increases the likelihood of improvement in various goals, such as weight loss and smoking cessation. 2. Habit tracking is attractive. Progress is a potent motivator. Seeing incremental wins can fuel your desire to continue. Even on difficult days, habit tracking provides tangible evidence of your progress, motivating you to maintain your streak. 3. Habit tracking is satisfying. The act of tracking itself can be rewarding. Crossing items off a to-do list or marking X's on a calendar feels satisfying and reinforces the habit. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, habit tracking keeps you engaged in your journey. Despite its benefits, many people resist habit tracking because it feels burdensome. However, there are ways to make it easier. Automate measurement whenever possible. Limit manual tracking to essential habits. Record measurements immediately after the habit occurs. By combining habit stacking with habit tracking, you create a powerful formula for consistency. For example, after completing a task, you immediately track it. Remember, every habit streak eventually ends. The key is to have a plan in place for when your habits derail. How to bounce back swiftly when your habits slip. No matter how diligent we are with our routines, life has a knack for throwing curveballs our way. Perfection remains elusive. Sooner or later, an unexpected event disrupts our flow. Illness strikes, work demands travel, or family needs demand our full attention. In such moments, I adhere to a straightforward principle. Never allow a single slip-up to derail progress. Should I falter one day, my focus sharpens on resuming my habits promptly. Missing one session at the gym is forgivable, but missing 2 consecutively is not an option. Perhaps I indulge in an entire pizza, yet I swiftly follow it with a nourishing meal. Imperfection is inevitable, yet avoiding a second lapse becomes paramount. The moment one streak ends, I initiate the next. The initial stumble isn't what spells defeat, it's the pattern of repeated missteps that ensues. A single lapse is a mishap. 2 constitute the beginnings of a new routine. Here lies the dichotomy between achievers and those who falter. Everyone encounters setbacks, a lackluster performance, a subpar workout, a rough day at the office, but champions rebound swiftly from failure. The breakdown of a habit holds little consequence if reclaiming it is swift. This principle resonates deeply, even in instances where I can't execute a habit flawlessly or comprehensively. Too often, we succumb to an all-or-nothing mindset with our habits. Yet, the issue isn't the occasional stumble. It's believing that imperfection warrants abandonment. The true value lies in showing up, especially on challenging days. Lost days chip away at progress far more than successful ones bolster it. Consider this. Starting with $100, a 50% increase takes you to $150, but a 33% loss drops you back to $100. Thus, avoiding a 33% loss is as crucial as achieving a 50% gain. This underscores the significance of bad workouts. They sustain the compounded gains from previous successes. Simply taking action, whether it's 10 squats, 5 sprints, or a single push-up, is monumental. Never settle for zero. Prevent losses from eroding your progress. Moreover, it's not solely about the workout itself. It's about embodying the identity of someone who shows up consistently. Training when conditions are favorable is easy. True commitment manifests when motivation wanes, even if the effort falls short. Spending 5 minutes at the gym may not enhance performance, but it reinforces your identity. The all-or-nothing cycle isn't the sole hazard jeopardizing habit formation. Another pitfall, particularly for habit trackers, is measuring the wrong metrics. Deciding when and when not to monitor a habit. Imagine overseeing a restaurant and wanting to gauge the chef's performance. One method is to track daily revenue, assuming that more paying customers equate to better food quality. However, this single metric offers a narrow view. Simply paying doesn't guarantee satisfaction. Dissatisfied customers might still pay. Moreover, focusing solely on revenue might overlook declining food quality, compensated by marketing or discounts. Instead, monitoring customer meal completion or generous tipping rates could provide deeper insights. The downside of fixating on specific behaviors is losing sight of their true purpose. If success hinges on quarterly earnings, efforts will prioritize short-term financial gains. Similarly, if success is tied to weight loss, extreme measures like crash diets become tempting. This phenomenon is akin to Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it loses its effectiveness. Metrics should guide rather than dictate actions. This phenomenon extends beyond business into personal life. Prioritizing long work hours over meaningful tasks, steps over overall health, or test scores over genuine learning are common pitfalls. What we measure often dictates our behavior by highlighting the importance of choosing metrics wisely. In our data-centric world, we overemphasize quantifiable factors, disregarding intangible aspects. Yet, the inability to measure something doesn't diminish its significance. Therefore, while habit tracking can be gratifying, it's vital to remember that measurement isn't the sole indicator of progress. Non-scale victories in weight loss, like improved skin or increased energy, offer alternative measures of success. Regardless of how progress is measured, habit tracking can enhance satisfaction by providing evidence of improvement and momentary gratification for a job well done. How having an accountability partner can revolutionize everything. After serving as a pilot in World War II, Roger Fisher pursued his education at Harvard Law School, dedicating 34 years to specializing in negotiation and conflict management. His notable contributions included founding the Harvard Negotiation Project and advising various countries and global leaders on peace initiatives, hostage situations, and diplomatic resolutions. However, it was during the tumultuous period of the 1970s and 1980s, marked by escalating nuclear tensions, that Fisher conceived one of his most provocative ideas. Observing the disconnect between the immense power of nuclear launch codes and the physical detachment of those who wielded them, Fisher proposed a striking solution in 1981. He suggested encapsulating the launch code within a small capsule and implanting it alongside the heart of a designated volunteer who would carry a hefty butcher knife. In this scenario, if a president ever contemplated initiating a nuclear strike, they would first have to confront the visceral act of personally ending a human life. Fisher's proposal aimed to inject a stark dose of reality into the decision-making process, emphasizing the gravity of such actions. In essence, Fisher's concept represents a reversal of the fourth law of behavior change, which advocates for making desirable habits immediately rewarding. Instead, he proposed making detrimental actions immediately unsatisfying, drawing attention to the power of immediate consequences in shaping behavior. Just as positive outcomes reinforce behavior, negative consequences serve as potent deterrents. Pain, whether physical or metaphorical, acts as a compelling instructor. Immediate repercussions for failure prompt swift corrective action, driving individuals to learn from their mistakes. Whether it's the fear of a scathing review prompting a plumber to excel, or the prospect of losing customers compelling restaurants to prioritize quality, the immediacy of consequences drives behavioral adaptation. The effectiveness of this approach lies in the immediacy and severity of the consequences. By linking actions directly to tangible, immediate costs, undesirable behaviors can be curbed effectively. Whether it's the imposition of a late fee prompting timely bill payments or tying grades to attendance to ensure student participation, the prospect of immediate discomfort motivates behavioral change. However, it's crucial to calibrate the punishment to match the behavior it seeks to correct. For behavioral change to occur, the consequences must outweigh the perceived benefits of the action. Whether it's imposing fines for undesirable behaviors or enforcing strict regulations, the key lies in making the repercussions both significant and consistently enforced. Ultimately, the most impactful consequences are those that are local, tangible, and immediate, as they exert the greatest influence on individual behavior. Fortunately, implementing immediate costs to deter undesirable habits is achievable through the creation of habit contracts, offering a straightforward mechanism for enforcing accountability. Power of habit agreement. Back in 1984, the first seatbelt law rolled out in New York, marking a pivotal shift in safety habits. Initially, only 14% of Americans buckled up routinely. Fast forward to today, where wearing seatbelts is mandated in 49 states, with over 88% compliance nationwide. This transformation underscores the impact of social contracts, where collectively agreed upon rules shape behaviors. Think seatbelt laws, smoke-free zones, or recycling mandates, all compelling examples of how society molds habits through legislation. Similarly, on a personal level, you can engineer change through a habit contract. This pact, verbal or written, outlines your commitment to a habit along with consequences for noncompliance, co-signed by accountability partners. Take Brian Harris, for instance. Seeking a healthier lifestyle post-parenthood, he crafted a meticulous contract with his wife and trainer, detailing dietary phases and daily routines. Failures incurred penalties from donning formal attire daily to monetary fines. Initially skeptical, I was won over by the seriousness signified in signing such agreements, as Harris attested. His subsequent success, achieving weight loss milestones through incremental consequences and unwavering support, spoke volumes. To deter undesirable habits, making them momentarily painful is key. Enter the habit contract, a pragmatic tool in this regard. Yet, even sans formal contracts, the mere presence of an accountability partner proves invaluable. Just ask comedian Margaret Cho, who, alongside a friend, tackles daily creative challenges, ensuring mutual commitment. The fear of disappointing others serves as a potent motivator, steering us away from procrastination or reneging on promises. Innovatively, some automate this accountability process. Take Thomas Frank, for example, whose scheduled tweet shames him for late rising, with monetary stakes adding urgency. In essence, we all strive to present our best selves. Whether through grooming habits or academic achievements, societal approval fuels our endeavors. Embracing accountability partnerships or drafting habit contracts taps into this innate desire for validation, propelling us towards lasting change. Unveiling the reality of talent, when genetics matter and when they don't. Michael Phelps is a household name, celebrated as one of history's greatest athletes, having surpassed not only all swimmers but also all Olympians in medal count. On the other hand, fewer recognize Hicham El Guerrouj, a phenomenal athlete in his own right. El Guerrouj, a Moroccan runner, boasts 2 Olympic gold medals and is revered as one of the finest middle-distance runners ever, holding world records in various races. Despite their stark differences, notably in their sporting domains and height, El Guerrouj standing at 5 feet 9 inches and Phelps towering at 6 feet 4 inches, their pant inseam lengths remain identical. This paradox stems from their distinct physical builds. Phelps possesses shorter legs and a long torso, perfect for swimming, while El Guerrouj flaunts long legs and a short upper body, ideal for distance running. However, swapping sports would likely prove futile for these athletes. Phelps, though incredibly fit, would struggle as a distance runner due to his weight, significantly heavier than the slender El Garouge. Similarly, El Garouge, despite his running prowess, would face challenges as a swimmer, given the advantage tall swimmers hold in the water. The crux of success lies in choosing the right arena, be it in sports, business, or habit formation. Just as Phelps excels in the pool and El Garouge dominates the track, aligning one's natural inclinations and abilities with the chosen field enhances the likelihood of success. Acknowledging this reality necessitates accepting the inherent diversity in human abilities, often a contentious topic. While genes offer distinct advantages in favorable environments, they can pose challenges in unsuitable contexts. Thus, our environment determines the manifestation of our genetic predispositions. This principle extends beyond physical attributes to encompass mental faculties as well. Competence varies based on context, emphasizing the importance of selecting the right domain to focus on. Ultimately, genetics do not dictate destiny but delineate areas of opportunity. Understanding one's genetic predispositions enables the pursuit of fulfilling habits aligned with personal skills and passions, fostering a harmonious blend of ambition and ability. How your personality shapes your habits. Hidden within every habit lies the influence of your genetic makeup. From the depths of your behaviors to the patterns of your daily life, genes play a significant role. They dictate the hours spent glued to the television, the likelihood of forming lasting relationships, and the susceptibility to addiction. Your genetic blueprint molds your response to authority, your resilience in the face of stress, and even your engagement levels during sensory experiences like concerts. Robert Plomin, a behavioral geneticist, emphasizes that nearly every trait bears the mark of genetic influence. These genetic traits amalgamate to form your unique personality, a consistent set of characteristics that transcend various situations. The widely recognized Big Five personality traits encompass openness to experience, ranging from curiosity and inventiveness to caution and consistency. Conscientiousness, spanning from organization and efficiency to spontaneity. Extroversion, stretching from outgoing and energetic to reserved and solitary. Agreeableness, spanning from warmth and compassion to detachment and challenge. Neuroticism, ranging from anxiety and sensitivity to stability and confidence. Each of these traits has a biological foundation. Extroversion, for instance, can manifest from infancy, where reactions to stimuli hint at future tendencies. Similarly, individuals high in agreeableness often exhibit kindness and warmth, paralleled by elevated oxytocin levels, fostering social bonding and trust. Neuroticism, a trait inherent in varying degrees in all individuals, correlates with heightened amygdala sensitivity, leading to increased vigilance towards threats. While our habits aren't solely dictated by our personalities, genetics certainly nudges us towards certain inclinations. Our intrinsic preferences make certain behaviors more accessible to some than to others. Therefore, tailoring habits to our personalities becomes crucial. Those less inclined towards conscientiousness, for instance, may require environmental cues to adhere to routines. The key takeaway lies in crafting habits that align with your personality. Whether it's the type of exercise, dietary preferences, or reading choices, embracing what resonates with you ensures sustainable habits. Joy and satisfaction are vital components for habit formation, as emphasized by the fourth law. Customizing habits to suit your personality serves as a starting point, but the journey doesn't end there. It involves identifying and creating environments where you naturally thrive. How to choose a game where the odds are in your favor. Mastering a game where the odds are on your side is crucial for sustaining motivation and achieving success. While it's said you can find enjoyment in almost anything, in reality, you're more inclined to enjoy activities that come naturally to you. Those gifted in a particular area tend to excel at it, receiving praise and rewards, which fuels their enthusiasm and propels them to produce even better results, a cycle of success. Selecting the right endeavor is key. Opt for the right habit and progress feels effortless. Choose wrongly and life becomes an uphill battle. But how do you choose the right habit? The initial step, as discussed in the third law, is to make it easy. Often picking the wrong habit means selecting one that's too challenging. When a habit is easy, success is more likely, leading to satisfaction. However, as you progress, any field can become challenging, requiring you to ensure you're playing to your strengths. But how do you determine that? The most common approach is trial and error, yet life's brevity poses a problem. Thankfully, there's an effective strategy, the explore-exploit trade-off. Initially engage in exploration, whether in relationships, academics, or business, trying out various options to broaden your horizons. Afterward, focus on the best solution found, occasionally experimenting further. The balance between exploration and exploitation depends on your current situation. If winning, exploit. If losing, continue to explore. Long-term effectiveness lies in spending 80 to 90% of your efforts on the most successful strategy, while allocating the rest for exploration. This approach varies based on available time. With ample time, lean towards exploration, while under time constraints, implement the best solution and attain results. During exploration, ask yourself key questions to pinpoint the most fulfilling habits. 1. What feels enjoyable to me but challenging to others? 2. Where do I lose track of time? 3. Where do I outperform the average person? 4. What comes naturally to me? Luck plays a role in this process, yet if relying on luck isn't your style, create your own game. Differentiate yourself by combining skills, reducing competition, and rewriting rules to favor your strengths. Specialization is another avenue to overcome genetic limitations. Mastery in a specific skill narrows competition, potentially leading to victory even without innate talent. You can't change whether you're a potato or an egg, but you can select a game where being hard or soft is advantageous. Finding a favorable environment transforms the odds from against you to in your favor. Maximizing your genetic potential. Our genetic makeup doesn't exempt us from hard work, rather it delineates its direction. It guides us toward areas where our efforts are most fruitful. Identifying our strengths enables us to allocate our time and energy effectively, recognizing which opportunities to pursue and which challenges to sidestep. The deeper our comprehension of our innate traits, the more strategic our approach becomes. Biological disparities are significant, yet it proves more beneficial to gauge personal fulfillment against individual potential, rather than external comparisons. The presence of natural limitations in specific abilities doesn't determine whether we're reaching our peak performance. Often, people fixate on their limitations, neglecting the effort required to approach them. Moreover, genetic predispositions alone won't guarantee success without concerted effort. While it's conceivable that a gym enthusiast with a sculpted physique possesses advantageous genes, without comparable dedication, it's futile to compare genetic hands. Until we match the diligence of those we admire, attributing their achievements solely to luck is unjust. To ensure enduring satisfaction in our habits, it's paramount to select behaviors congruent with our personality and aptitudes. Devote energy to refining innate talents and skills, fostering a pathway to long-term fulfillment. The Goldilocks Principle: Sustaining Motivation in Life and Work. Back in 1955, as Disneyland unveiled its magic in Anaheim, California, a 10-year-old boy boldly stepped in, seeking employment. In those lax labor law days, he snagged a job selling guidebooks for 50 cents each. In no time, he found himself amidst the enchantment of Disney's magic shop, learning tricks from seasoned employees. While he dabbled with jokes and simple routines, he discovered his true passion lay not in magic, but in performing. Thus, his sights were set on a career in comedy. Starting his journey in small Los Angeles clubs during his teenage years, he faced sparse crowds and short acts, sometimes performing to emptiness. Yet with each attempt, he honed his craft. From brief 1 or 2 minute sets, he progressed to 5, then 10-minute performances by high school. Despite needing to pad his routines with poems, he persisted, slowly but surely expanding his skills. Over a decade of experimentation and hard work followed. A stint as a television writer provided a stepping stone, leading to his own appearances on talk shows. By the mid-1970s, he had secured regular spots on iconic shows like The Tonight Show and Saturday Night Live. Nearly 15 years into his journey, the young man ascended to stardom. He toured tirelessly, captivating audiences across the nation. With crowds swelling into the tens of thousands, he cemented his status as one of comedy's greats. His name? Steve Martin. Martin's story provides a compelling insight into the perseverance required to nurture habits over time. Comedy, with its inherent challenges, demands resilience. Week after week, for 18 years, Martin faced the daunting prospect of solo performances and the risk of silence. Yet he persisted, spending a decade learning, 4 years refining, and 4 years achieving wild success. What sets individuals like Martin apart in their ability to sustain habits compared to the rest of us? How do we cultivate habits that endure rather than wither away? Scientists have long pondered these questions. While the quest for answers continues, one consistent finding emerges. Maintaining motivation and reaching peak performance hinges on tasks of just manageable difficulty. The human brain thrives on challenge, but within a specific zone of difficulty. Imagine playing tennis against a 4-year-old. It's too easy. Against a pro like Federer or Williams, too difficult. Yet against an evenly matched opponent, every point is a challenge, demanding your full attention. This delicate balance, where tasks push but don't overwhelm, epitomizes the Goldilocks rule. The Goldilocks rule dictates that humans experience peak motivation when tackling tasks that stretch their abilities just enough, neither too easy nor too hard. Martin's comedy journey exemplifies this principle. Each year, he expanded his routine by a minute or two, adding new material while retaining reliable jokes. This balance of victories and setbacks kept him motivated and engaged. When establishing a new habit, simplicity is key for longevity, as discussed in the third law of behavior change. Yet once established, progress hinges on gradual advancement. These incremental improvements and fresh challenges maintain engagement, and when balanced just right, lead to a state of flow. Flow is that elusive state of total immersion in an activity, where time seems to stand still. Researchers suggest that achieving flow requires tasks to be around 4% beyond one's current ability, an elusive balance akin to the Goldilocks rule. In the pursuit of self-improvement, maintaining this delicate equilibrium is paramount. Regularly seeking challenges that push boundaries while making tangible progress keeps motivation alive. Variety is crucial. Without it, boredom creeps in, thwarting progress. Thus, on the path to growth, the Goldilocks rule remains a guiding principle, reminding us that the sweet spot lies in challenges that stretch but don't strain our abilities. How to maintain focus when tediousness threatens your goal pursuit. After my baseball career concluded, I sought a new athletic endeavor and found myself in a weightlifting team. One fateful day, our gym hosted an esteemed coach seasoned in sculpting countless athletes, including Olympians. In our conversation about the journey of improvement, I posed a question. What sets apart the top-tier athletes from the rest? What distinguishes the truly triumphant? Expectedly, he mentioned factors like genetics, luck, and innate talent. However, his unexpected response struck a chord. Ultimately, it boils down to who can endure the monotony of daily training, repeating the same drills tirelessly. His insight challenged conventional notions of work ethic. Often, we hear about mustering boundless enthusiasm to pursue goals. Whether in business, sports, or the arts, the rhetoric emphasizes passion and unwavering desire. Consequently, when motivation wanes, we're disheartened, believing successful individuals possess an endless wellspring of fervor. Yet this coach proposed that the truly victorious encounter the same motivational slumps as anyone else. The disparity lies in their ability to persist despite the doldrums. Mastery demands repetition, but familiarity breeds tedium. Once initial progress is made and we grow accustomed to the routine, our enthusiasm wanes. Sometimes it diminishes rapidly. A few consecutive days at the gym or meeting deadlines can lead to complacency. In times of ease, skipping a session seems inconsequential. We're in a comfortable spot. The gravest threat to success isn't failure, but rather ennui. We grow weary of habits as they cease to enthrall us. The anticipated outcome loses its allure. As habits become mundane, we sabotage our progress in pursuit of novelty. Perhaps this explains our perpetual cycle of shifting from one regimen to another, one venture to the next. At the slightest dip in motivation, we seek a new approach, even if the current one still yields results. As Machiavelli observed, men desire novelty to such an extent that those who are doing well wish for a change, as much as those who are doing badly. This propensity for novelty seeking is exploited by many addictive products, which provide a continuous stream of novelty. Video games offer visual stimuli, Pornography provides sexual novelty, and junk food tantalizes with culinary variety. Each experience offers intermittent surprises, engaging the brain's reward system. Psychologically, this phenomenon is termed variable reward, a concept exemplified by slot machines. The occasional jackpot, interspersed with losses, creates a fluctuating pace of rewards, maximizing dopamine release and reinforcing habits. However, not all habits incorporate variable rewards, nor should they. Imagine if Google delivered useful search results sporadically, or if Uber only completed half of its trips, users would swiftly defect. Similarly, not all habits should rely on variable rewards. Yet, regardless of reward structure, no habit remains captivating indefinitely. Eventually, every journey of self-improvement encounters the same hurdle, embracing monotony. Regardless of your aspirations, consistent effort is paramount. There will be days when quitting feels tempting, when starting a business, completing a workout, or pursuing creative endeavors. However, true professionals persevere, adhering to their schedule despite adversity. They understand their priorities and pursue them relentlessly, irrespective of mood fluctuations. Avoid being a fair weather participant in your pursuits. Whether it's meditation, athletics, writing, or any endeavor, commitment is non-negotiable. Professionals act even when the circumstances are unfavorable, diligently putting in the work. In my own journey, there were numerous sets I didn't feel like completing, articles I hesitated to write, and days I yearned for relaxation. Yet, I've never regretted adhering to my commitments. Excellence is cultivated by finding fascination in repetition, by embracing the mundane with fervor. The drawbacks of establishing beneficial habits. Habits lay the groundwork for mastery. In endeavors like chess, once the fundamental moves become second nature, players can redirect their focus towards deeper strategic aspects of the game. As each piece of knowledge is internalized, mental bandwidth expands for more deliberate thought. This principle holds true across various fields. When basic actions are executed effortlessly, attention can be directed towards refining advanced techniques. Consequently, habits serve as the scaffolding for excellence in any pursuit. However, the advantages of habits come with inherent drawbacks. Initially, repetition enhances fluency, speed, and proficiency. Yet, as habits solidify into automatic routines, sensitivity to feedback diminishes, leading to mindless repetition. Errors are overlooked, and a complacent attitude ensues, under the assumption of skill improvement through experience alone. Paradoxically, research suggests that once mastery is achieved, there may be a gradual decline in performance over time. Typically, this decline is inconsequential for mundane tasks like brushing teeth or tying shoes, where adequacy suffices. Energy conservation on trivial decisions allows for prioritizing more significant matters. Nonetheless, aspiring for peak performance demands a more nuanced strategy. Blindly repeating the same actions is insufficient for excellence. It requires a blend of habitual routines and deliberate practice. Habits, deliberate practice, will mastery. Certain skills necessitate automation to reach greatness. Athletes must dribble effortlessly before mastering complex maneuvers like layups with their non-dominant hand. Surgeons must practice initial incisions to the point of instinct, enabling focus on the myriad variables of surgery. However, once a habit is mastered, attention must revert to deliberate, effortful practice to cultivate the next skill. Mastery entails isolating a specific element of success, repeating it until it becomes ingrained, and leveraging it as a foundation for progression. While familiarity facilitates repetition, the challenge persists as energy is redirected towards conquering new frontiers. Each mastered habit unlocks a higher level of performance, perpetuating an endless cycle of growth. Though potent, habits necessitate ongoing vigilance to maintain consciousness of performance and facilitate continual refinement. It is precisely when mastery seems within grasp, when tasks become automatic and comfort sets in, that the trap of complacency must be averted. The remedy? Establish a framework for reflection and evaluation. How to evaluate your habits and make adjustments. In the annals of basketball history, the 1985-1986 Los Angeles Lakers stand out not just for their exceptional talent, but also for their strategic approach to maintaining peak performance. Despite a promising start to the season, they fell short in the playoffs, prompting Coach Pat Riley to institute a groundbreaking system known as the Career Best Effort Program, CBE, in 1986. At its core, CBE focused on continual improvement, challenging players to exceed their previous best efforts by just 1% each game. This wasn't solely about stats, it encompassed mental, physical, and spiritual dedication to every play. By quantifying each player's performance and comparing it with league standards, the Lakers fostered a culture of excellence and accountability. Reflecting on the success of the CBE program offers valuable insights into habit evaluation and refinement. Whether you're an athlete like Eliud Kipchoge or Katie Ledecky, a performer like Chris Rock, or a professional navigating decisions like executives and investors, the principle remains the same. Regular review is essential for progress. For me, this takes the form of 2 annual rituals: the annual review and the integrity report. These sessions provide an opportunity to assess what went well, what didn't, and what lessons were learned. By aligning actions with core values and striving for continuous improvement, I ensure that my habits evolve in sync with my aspirations. Moreover, these moments of reflection offer perspective, allowing us to see the forest for the trees. Just as obsessing over daily choices can obscure the bigger picture, neglecting to review habits leaves us blind to potential improvements. Finding the right distance for self-assessment enables us to identify necessary changes without losing sight of our overarching goals. Ultimately, the practice of reflection and review isn't just about tweaking habits, it's about reaffirming identity. By regularly revisiting who we are and who we aim to become, we lay the groundwork for meaningful and sustained growth. How to shatter the limiting beliefs. Initiating a habit is crucial in establishing evidence for your desired identity. Yet, as you embrace this new identity, these very beliefs can act as shackles, hindering further progress. Your identity, when turned against you, fosters a sense of pride that blinds you to your vulnerabilities and obstructs genuine growth. This paradox is one of the pitfalls of habit formation. The more integral a belief is to our sense of self, the more vehemently we defend it against scrutiny. This phenomenon is ubiquitous across all domains. Consider the teacher sticking to traditional methods, the seasoned manager adamant about their approach, or the surgeon dismissing younger colleagues' ideas. The tighter we grasp onto an identity, the more arduous it becomes to transcend it. One remedy is to refrain from letting any single facet of your identity dominate your being. As investor Paul Graham advocates, keep your identity small. The more you allow a solitary belief to define you, the less adaptable you are in the face of life's challenges. Placing all your identity eggs in one basket, whether as a point guard or a firm partner, renders you vulnerable. Should you lose that defining aspect, you risk losing yourself entirely. For much of my youth, being an athlete was central to my identity. When my baseball career concluded, I grappled with self-discovery. When an identity crumbles, who are you then? Similar sentiments echo among military veterans and former entrepreneurs. If your identity hinges on being a great soldier, what remains after your service ends? For many business owners, being the CEO or founder consumes their identity. After dedicating every moment to their venture, how do they cope post-sale? The key lies in redefining yourself to retain crucial aspects of your identity amidst role transitions. I'm an athlete evolves into I'm someone resilient, relishing physical challenges. I'm a great soldier transforms into I'm disciplined, dependable, and a team player. I'm the CEO becomes I'm a builder, a creator. When chosen wisely, an identity becomes flexible rather than rigid. Like water adapting to obstacles, your identity harmonizes with changing circumstances. The Tao Te Ching encapsulates this notion aptly. Men are born supple and yielding. Dead, they are stiff and unyielding. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, the inflexible are disciples of death, while the yielding are disciples of life. The unyielding will be broken, while the yielding will endure. Lao Tzu. Habits confer myriad benefits, yet they can also ensnare us in outdated patterns, oblivious to the shifting world. Life is transient, requiring periodic reassessment of our habits and beliefs. Self-awareness is the antidote to stagnation. Reflection and review are our means of renewal. In closing, unlocking the key to enduring success. An ancient Greek parable, the Sorites paradox, illustrates the profound impact of repeated small actions. It poses a question: can one coin make a person rich? Initially, a single coin seems inconsequential, but as more are added, the accumulation becomes undeniable. Similarly, can one tiny change transform your life? Initially, it may seem improbable, but through consistent repetition, the transformative power of small habits becomes evident. The essence of habit change lies not in isolated 1% improvements, but in the aggregation of countless small changes. These atomic habits, like building blocks, form the foundation of lasting transformation. Initially, the impact of small improvements may seem negligible, overshadowed by the inertia of the existing system. Yet, as these incremental changes accumulate, they gradually tip the scales of life in your favor. With perseverance, a tipping point is reached where good habits become easier to maintain and the system begins to work for you. Throughout this journey, we've explored the stories of numerous achievers from diverse fields, all united by their commitment to incremental progress. Their success is not defined by reaching a destination, but by embracing an ongoing process of refinement. As we conclude, remember that success is not a destination, but a continuous journey of improvement. Armed with the 4 laws of behavior change, you possess the tools to craft better systems and cultivate better habits. Whether making habits obvious, attractive, easy, or satisfying, the aim is to shift positive behaviors to the left side of the spectrum and negative behaviors to the right. This is an iterative process without a final endpoint. Continuously cycle through the 4 laws of behavior change to identify and address areas for improvement. By relentlessly pursuing incremental growth, you unleash the power of compounding small habits into remarkable results. In essence, the secret to enduring success lies in the unwavering commitment to never cease improvement. Whether in business, fitness, knowledge, finances, or relationships, the cumulative effect of consistent effort is profound. Small habits, diligently cultivated, do not merely add up, they compound, yielding extraordinary outcomes. Thus, embrace the power of atomic habits, tiny changes yielding remarkable results.